You can choose the challenge account or even a pro account and start trading your way to real payouts and even a live account. And in the last 90 days alone, they paid over $10 million out and have earned over 1,000 five-star reviews from real traders just like you. So if you're interested, use that discount code TTV to save on any account, scan that QR code, or head on over to top1futures.com and start trading towards your next payout. Joey, usually I'm pretty kind of chill about wanting to get off, but the bank closes at 5 and I got nothing that I can do about their closing, so I got to weasel out of here. Good to see you, and I'll see everybody tomorrow. Boys are that way.
I charge a 10% fee too, yeah, right?
Killing. All right, the boys are that way. Sean's on the position board, guys.
10%, bro. You got to step those numbers up. What do you mean? If I'm charging a premium, I better be getting 70, 75% at least. Or we'll just make a jokes and be like, all right, 69% more. Come on.
You're just gouging people, man.
No, bro.
I mean, if you're gonna ask me for a premium, you know, I come at a price, Neil.
Joe's got that reasonable rate. That's why Joe is stepping in for me for the aftermarket show so I can coach Madada's baseball tonight.
It's like 10%, bro. That's like a tip. You're not tipping.
He's up here charging some reasonable stuff. You're out here asking for 75%. Shoot. Like you can't.
Listen, when if I'm providing the liquidity, you know what I mean?
Obi always provides the liquidity. That's rule number one.
Don't be mispricing me.
Rule number 2, don't bet against Tesla, apparently. Yo, the V-shaped recovery was real for the ES, although we got literally to the high on the ES. I shouldn't spoil it. Like, Tesla's good, but let's be real. We got right up into the open high, almost to the, I can't say the penny because it's a futures contract, but you know that's what I want to say in this situation, but bye-bye, and then we pulled right back in here. Tesla is the strong one ahead of earnings tomorrow, and look, up 1 point, pressing those highs. Look, the market this morning was just an absolute disaster for the chips, but a lot of things had these heavy red candles, and not everything reverted the same way. Like if you were to look at, like look at SMH, for example, and we'll talk about all this stuff. SMH, pullback, gets halfway there. AMD had a nice bounce. NVIDIA had a nice bounce. But I submit to you Micron, which is like, oh, we're bouncing? The chips are bouncing? Nah, I'm cool. We'll just sit at the low of the day right now. It's all right. You guys go. Just leave me at the bottom, like they're Intel or something over here on Micron. I am in one position, although I guess the position board isn't up yet. So next available fill that I get, which... here.
See where that NIO is back at?
I don't even want to look at where NIO is because we should be long. I'm just in Robinhood around VWAP, but where is NIO?
It's right back under 5. That's why. I don't know.
Right at $5.
It's right back under 5. I'm just like I like what I was doing on it earlier, to be honest. And if it's going to come back for more, I definitely want to take another piece at that. We got above $5, only about 10 pennies above $5. I was here a couple of times being like, all right, well, if it's going to hold the $5, I do like a little bit of a pullback. Worked on the second try as I got in just above 95s, looking for a push into 85s. Sure, just 10 pennies, but a reversion to VWAP nonetheless. We hold. $5, not really significant size, but it does push through it and give us another 10 pennies on top of that one. So yeah, that's what I'm watching. A little bit of a cheeky trading here on GM as it. I definitely had the long here at that 49. I think I had 49.15s with the day low of 49.08s, and I definitely fumbled that piece there as I didn't even take the reversion to VWAP. I only took about 10, 15 pennies off, but I guess I was in the most here, but flipped short here with a little bit of a bag hold, but that selling does come right back in through the 50, so I was definitely a little bit on the front side of the move. Just got to do better with taking a lot more when it does come in here. What's going on here?
I find that if I'm going for a low of the day reversion in that same situation, and like you get it, but you don't get it off the bottom, I find in that situation, I'm more apt to get into the short.
Yeah. Because like they're both valid. They're both very
valid.
valid.
But I'm gonna get
right?
the short too
I'm like,
soon.
that's the next trade.
Because it's like if I take the long off too soon, you're just like, oh, you left some on the table.
Yes,
with the
100%.
long.
That's the mentality.
So therefore, you've got to then somehow magically make more on the short, which means get in earlier because you don't want to miss it.
Yeah.
It's just like one thing leads to one thing leads to another. Before I know Joe's gonna do the rundown, which. You know what? I'm pretty sure Open's going to be on it because I feel like the small caps, they've been leading it.
Oh, yeah.
Like
I mean,
KSS this morning and Open were going nuts. But Open just broke the low of not just the day, but also that afternoon flush. Now, this isn't the absolute bottom on Open because that was yesterday's low was 261, I believe. So there's still some room for this to get down to the low. Oh my, could this really take that out? Like if we see a 260 break on Open, just going to go to the 15-minute chart, see what we have working here. Like underneath $2, really. You can either fill the gap in and hold 220, or you can go even lower. Like, don't write this one off. Kind of one and done that stock, and I can see this heading even lower. Rusty Dutch believes it all day as well. Arguably, until you break this 260, you haven't. I can't remember a situation where you've had this type of a rinse and a rinse at the open, where if you bought this thing at 9:30 at the lows yesterday after all of this nonsense to the downside, you're not even out of the money yet. Like, that's insane to me. You could have bought the open, given it all back, and still technically be green. But it's running out of time to hold up here on Open.
Yeah, Neil, I think that's definitely one to keep an open mind about because it still hasn't broken trend at all, and long season it's still open. But without any further ado, I see Joe at the green screen. So let's see what you guys have voted on during the day. What is on the rundown, Joe? Take us away.
All right, guys, welcome to the afternoon rundown, the segment where we talk about the stocks you guys pick throughout the day. And at the top of its docket, meme crazy, here it is, Open, guys. A move being driven by retail investors, big time moves that we've seen and experienced over the past couple of sessions. But now we're down 14%, over 14% on the day. Let's see what Neil and Obi think about Open.
It's not over. It's not over. That's what I believe about it. And we said this in yesterday's trade that when you have moves like this, you have to always zoom out so you have a sense of context to how far back and how nasty a pullback could be. Because like this was 50 cents and then it wound up, broke, didn't really, like its first pullback was at about 220 and that held and didn't even go underneath the prior day, but that was 220 with a range of like 160. Like that was pretty crazy. And then it broke out again. So with the $5 move, when you pull out that chart, it pulling back into 250, like that just seems almost reasonable in some regards, which is where we're sitting on Open. There might be one last salvo to the upside before it gets to that key support at about 250, where you could have one more pullback to the upside, and then you would flush. I'd be eyeballing the $3 level because of that. $4 held like an absolute champion. That's the only reason for this trade was when it halted downside, the top was 4 in the afternoon. That's about it. And then that's what happened here. So why not $3 if we catch a bit of a bounce? Until we get to 250, I think the gravity's headed toward that way. I think I'd still favor the short. Look for a reversion off the 250 level and then maybe 220. It's certainly settled down a little bit in the middle of the day, but the way it respected the volume-weighted average price just meant the sellers were happy to hold on to control. And until that changes, you want to be really, really careful about your entries long.
Yeah, I think off of the open, I said this a little earlier as well. I was definitely not effectively sized on that initial entry. A bit of a similar trade here, Neil, that I took. Off the open, I was like, all right, looking a little weak underneath this $4 level that had this confluence with this $4 test from prior day, and I got in 85s, just being like, okay, well, if it's going to break above that $4, I'm willing to be wrong here and waiting for this to push in. I didn't really have any of my ads that I had intended on taking maybe through some of these pre-market levels if those sellers did step back in. And guess what? We did retrace a decent chunk of this range that was sold off going into the end of the day post halt down. That was a $4 all the way down to $2 and some change. I think the lows in and around 290s or 280s right here. A strong reversion back into VWAP off of that turn as well. So we did take a little bit of a shot at that, and I guess thankfully good reps in terms of the entry. The exits can definitely be a little bit better on my part, because I'm like, if I'm getting this short, I better not be flipping long or even covering unless and until I see that reversion trade potentially come in, because I like to take both of those, right? So and I saw this reversion come in on the $3 hold. That was quite nice, and now finally giving that up and pushing back into some of prior day's lows. But bigger picture, still holding up quite well, is open. I'm curious to know how we do going into the end of the week. This $3 hold or $3 area hold in around $2.60 to $3 has been quite interesting over the past couple of days. No idea what it's going to be doing going into the end of the week, but with those prices and levels as references, and we saw what happened yesterday, strong flush, a lot of aggressive selling. We're seeing more of the same today. I'm going to be looking for more of the same going forward, Neil.
Yeah, before we go up to the desk, Ozzy Osbourne passed away, 76. But from what I see of people posting online, he was with family, which is always, it looks like it's true. I mean, it's seeing multiple people are saying it all over X. So yeah, that sucks. Yesterday we lose Malcolm Jamal Warner and now Ozzy Osbourne, a couple of legends right there. But hey, if you're with your family, that's all that you can ask for. You know, the guy obviously lived an unbelievable life. Let's go talk a little bit, little NIO. Legend, man. Legend.
Yeah, guys. All right. Yeah, rest in peace, Ozzy Osbourne there. All right, guys. NIO up over 10% on the day with some investor optimism on a new family-based SUV model, guys. So that is going to lead what we've displayed a nice run here in NIO. Again, new models, family-based, investors like in this one, guys.
Yeah, I still have some skepticism about NIO's model. At the end of the day, the whole battery swap thing. But look, momentum is momentum. And what's crazy about this is there's a trader, there's traders that have been doing really well on this stock. And I can't remember, like I can sit there and say, okay, shorting 5 gave you like 98.99. You could have scalped it and then just punched out when it broke $5. But I wasn't a part of the long. What's crazy about this, if this does this tomorrow and I'm not long it, this will mean it won't do it tomorrow. Every single day, what do you notice at the open? Like this is 9:30. You know what? I think a 15-minute chart's gonna be right for this. At 9:30, breaks the high and goes. At 9:30, breaks the pre-market high and goes. 9:30, break the pre-market high, gone. Pre-market high, gone. Like the one day, in this day, it breaks a pre-market low. So like you wouldn't even be in the trade because it doesn't break. Consolidation breaks down and goes. Consolidation breaks down and goes. NIO, again, it keeps happening. Breaks down and goes. So what this tells me is I don't even care what NIO is doing tomorrow. Pick a direction. If it's got a consolidation, either stop breakout long at 9:30, or if you like the short, stop breakdown short. You have literally won like 10 days in a row doing that trade. If you knew the direction, I mean, if you just picked one direction, then you're better off going long because more times it's broken long than the times it's gone short. But tight consolidation, and it just breaks and goes. It's actually wild to have not noticed this before. And ultimately, I know a lot of traders have been on it. Look, you trade what you trade. Am I going to sit and tell you that I'd rather have traded NIO off the open than open, which gave you that flush from $4 down to $3? I mean, okay, winner's a winner. But this trade, for someone looking for a simple technical trade, the way it's been going up every single day has just been punch the breakout at the open, which I can't remember a time seeing that happen so often. Right now, you're getting not a lot. It is a Chinese ADR in the afternoon, meaning volume isn't always going to be the best in here. A little barcode action off the $5 level. Like, it feels to me like I just got the reversion at the wrong time, even though it gave you a little something. Sometimes you get the trend working a little bit longer, and then it's even better. Because the steep trend kind of gave you something. The longer trend, when it breaks in the afternoon, like that one's pretty clean, and it still has a chance to get into VWAP. I like these trend breaks. From now on, when something's parabolic, unless you give me a ridiculous topping tail candle or some kind of obvious entry, just these trend breaks extending away from VWAP, they give you a nice, obvious entry point, a nice, obvious exit point, and then a strategy to be against the grain, which you really need.
Yeah, what was a bit of a miss on my part off of the open, but yeah, if you were, Neil's definitely right. If you were noticing what it's been doing back-to-back days, a bit of an uptrend and strength coming in off of the open, that was pretty decent as well. I got involved on that $5 test, the initial push into that $5 as well. Didn't really work out as it continued to bid right back up, but currently trading back into that $5 mark, so I do have eyes on it. Starting to get a bit extended on the daily, but the bid is definitely there. The trend is still strong. No real sign of strong sellers just yet, but this $5 area is definitely a little interesting to me when it comes to just stocks in general. But NIO finally coming back into that $5 mark. No idea where it'll go from here, but yeah, thank you to Trump's tariff slump for the super chat here saying, Neil, Weeble Bull has been a solid gain today. I appreciate you guys. We appreciate you. Thank you very much for the super chat. Trump's tariff slump. Let's go on to KSS.
Before we go to KSS, I should be long Weeble, not Robinhood. Because Weeble did this off of VWAP, which $15 to $15.60, last I checked, is 4%. And Robinhood, off of the volume weighted average price, has gone, let's see, the best it went is about 60 pennies. Oh, but it's a $100 stock. And it's already starting to pull back. So yeah, I should take my own advice, Trump's tariffs slump TTS. I don't know why, when you read it, it's just like you're repeating it, it's just TTS. Let's talk about Kohl's, because I can't think of the last time we saw a reversion that clean.
Yeah, lots to talk about here with Kohl's, guys. Apparently an upgrade on this name, which led us into almost a picture-perfect gamma squeeze, guys. This is exactly what we were looking for. And we also had a trader in our chat, the Repo Man, putting up some big numbers on this name as well, too. But you can see earlier in the pre-market, a big-time move that we experienced here in Kohl's, and still up over 30% on the session. But that was a picture-perfect gamma squeeze, a lot of shorts having to cover, and then that's where you get that move all the way up north of $20 there, guys.
Yeah, I will say this. I promise you, you will not find a more fortunate exit to a trade than mine on Kohl's. There is some context to this, so like I have to explain a little bit about this top. If you were watching, it was just pure expansion as it was going higher, like expanding volume, expanding 3-minute candles, leading into the open, and then what we ended up having was right at about 9:30, just as the market opens up, it goes into the halt band up top. So it's looking like it's going to do this and halt to the upside. Now, if it's ever breaking out the first halt of the day trade, in the meme craze, that was a big trade. Whether it was GameStop or sometimes AMC or whatever, like DJT did this as well, where something's going for the first time, as Joe said, maybe it's a gamma squeeze, whatever it might be, that first halt was gold, because a lot of times if it did that right off the open, there'd be like watts of covering, and even if it only had one more push after it, you'd be good to go. So I got on the bid when it was going into the halt band with a stop right underneath. So I think it was at $21.23. So I got on the bid. I had my stop order that if it lost the bid even for a split second, that means it's not going to halt. I would just punch out, and my stop order was protecting me when I got that fill. So I got about as good of an exit point as you can get, because I had a stop order in the second it hit the halt band. And then I put my bid in to go long. Anyways, that ended up being the picture-perfect turn. I wish I could say I had it. I didn't. And what I love about this opportunity here, whoa, what's happened to Tesla? So what I love about this opportunity is it might give you a second salvo as what is going on at Tesla right now. Can I just, let's just go, let me finish my thoughts because Tesla just dropped all the way into the volume weighted average price here. What the heck? Like we just dropped to 330 on Tesla. Is anything else moving? I just see Tesla dropping. I don't really have any news here. Yeah, nothing's hitting the wire. Nothing's going on in my ear right now. So Tesla, this could just be, I really want to just get it off VWAP if this is going to be a nothing burger here. I've heard absolutely nothing in my ear, which is kind of concerning to me because I figure I'd be hearing something in terms of this volatility in Tesla. But I think the 15 area in VWAP might give us a second salvo at a bit of a short opportunity on Coles. But wow, what the heck just happened in Tesla? That is wild. We'll see if we have any news here, but I'm not seeing or hearing anything.
All right, guys, so VinFast delivery over 67,000 EVs in the first 2025, closing on its full year 2024 delivery.
This can't be right.
VinFast delivered 11,382 EVs in June, fueled by strong demand for the VF3, Vietnam's best-selling electric mini car, and new models from the Green Series. For the first half of 2025, total domestic deliveries reached 67,000, over 67,000 vehicles. Remember, VinFast delivered over 97,000 EVs for the full year of 2024. It is on track to surpass what it delivered last year. Their affordable lineup accounted for 66% of deliveries, highlighting growing middle-class appetite for urban mobility options. VinFast. That's VFS on the Nasdaq. So yeah, this Coles move, man, absolutely wild. I was watching the tape in the pre-market and I was like, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. When is this buyer going to finish? As it was very, very clear that someone was getting blasted going into the pre-market or going into the open, and I was watching it, obviously not close enough, but when that buyer is done doing whatever they need to do and starts to step off, best believe this action looks distinctly different, and all of that buying pressure, which again, a little unnatural, because probably just a one or few group of participants, if anything, regardless. There is an extension of price based off of an unusual demand in the pre-market session. When that demand falls off, that was all the buying pressure that was actually really there. It reverts almost 100%. An absolute beautiful textbook example of that on KSS off of the open. So shout out to any snipers out there who had the short off of the open, and as well as a continuation back through some of these levels. Probably one of the best reversions on the day, I'll say it, but I was not involved, so. Beautiful, beautiful action. Like when somebody's offside, you gotta be there. You know what I mean? Like, and it was very clear someone was offside pre-market.
So before we go back, and we're gonna talk. I mean, Tesla's literally next on the list, but the only thing I could see that could even remotely account for a price spike to the downside, it wasn't just Tesla. So this is what happened on the ES. There was a little spike down and then back up. There's this letter which looks like I don't know. I'm thinking it's a fake letter. Saying about Powell resigning, which to me, if that was the case, I'd be seeing, like you'd be seeing so much more about it. I'd be hearing it going off in my ear. I'd see reputable sources talking about this to believe some kind of nonsense fake letter that's going around. But it looks to me like maybe that could have actually somehow caused a spike down, which got bought right back up. So yeah, it looks like a fake letter, someone trying to pretend that hey, maybe someone had some puts on in there. Want to put a fake letter out and thought it could move the markets, but right back up to the highs is Tesla, which is not Stressla outside of the first 30 minutes.
Yeah, looking really good here, guys. But Tesla registrations down 21% in Q2 in California here, guys. But a nice move that we're experiencing. Earnings tomorrow after the market close. I think this is going to be a big one, guys.
Well, one way or another, it's going to be a big one. Like Tesla earnings tend to be exciting regardless. there's going to be volatility. This really rinsed at the open. A lot of stocks lost a bid, but when this lost yesterday's low, and it was pretty much to the penny. It held the opening range right here to be able to hold on to yesterday's low. And when it gave it up, it was a straight shot down. The reversions today have been nuts, showing you Kohl's is one, but Tesla in the other direction has been absolutely a barn burner to the upside. And you have to pick and choose what you're trading. Tesla wasn't necessarily on the trade list today, going into earnings tomorrow, but the strength that it's got going into it, and the way that it just got bought up on this fake Powell resumption or resigning letter, they just came in and bought this right up at VWAP, which to me confirms along for this afternoon. I think you want to be buying dips in Tesla. All bets could be off going into earnings because anything can happen tomorrow, certainly. But for right now, this looks incredibly strong. Relatively speaking, the Nasdaq hasn't even gone close to green. You've got the ES pretty much flat, and this is up 1.4%. A lot riding on these earnings, but we don't have to worry. We have 24 hours until we have to deal with those. I tend to be in the camp of I'm not as bullish on Tesla as the only stock in the Mag 7 that I feel like was worried about with Tesla as compared to Tesla would be Apple. If your time frame is long enough, I think it's fine. Me, the 220 swing that I recently had, I'm out of 2/3 of it, but my long-term position I haven't touched in Tesla, and I'm not doing anything with it going into it.
Yeah, definitely wasn't on my watch list today, but seeing it off the open, aggressive quadung, so maybe poised for a little bit of an intraday mean reversion, and oh boy, was the reversion pretty mean when it does come in. 100% recovery, holding and stepping above, and a little bit of a shake and bake, I guess, with that PR or piece or whatever it was. This little action that came in, 330s holds and then rips right back up. So what is the probability of printing some fresh highs, Neil, on the day? 334.25s is the current one. If buyers are going to continue to step in, I think it's pretty decent. But selling prior day right off of that 338 as well. So a little bit of a reference area there to go off of. Not that far away from it, well within range within the next hour and a half that we have left for the trading day. But Tesla coming in quite nice after getting sold off pretty aggressively into those 320s. We talked about those 320s just last week. Right, Neil? And we were like, okay, well, this 320 seller's got a lift because it's not really letting it get past above. And when that selling pressure lifts, we do push a little bit higher. But that 338 is where sellers stepped in yesterday. So seems it was more of the same coming in off of the open, continuation off of prior day's lows, pre-market lows. That short was quite nice as well. If you were looking at this like, okay, well, that was aggressive selling off of the open. We closed near the lows. We're pretty weak. Let's look for more of the same coming into the open. It gave you all of that and some more. But now reverting 100% and more back to the upside. Let's see if that supply from yesterday exists or it was just there for a single day on Tesla. Who knows?
All right, guys, last but not least, the digital fintech holder, USDC. Circle, that is, guys, down about 8.5% on the day. Shares trading lower after Compass Point downgraded the stock from neutral to sell, lowered its price target from $205 to $130. That's going to be a $60 haircut from where we're currently trading at, guys.
Yeah, but Circle does hold on to that anchored from the low, from the all-time low. I believe it was sitting at, you can get the number exactly, but it's around the 190 level. So even with this pullback that we have, which is, look, it's spectacular, and I get it, for any trade that you might have. Like to me at the open, I was short Rigetti and Open, which were equally good. But Circle was the missed opportunity, if anything. Like I don't regret any of the other ones, but Circle was part of the trade plan and did not get that short at the open. So you got to have it at 3 short ideas and only got 2. And when you get a third day like this, complete and utter rejection 2 days ago when it was breaking out at the end of crypto week, right? They tried to break out on the last day. You get to sell the news. The continuation at this point, knowing that anchor is at 190. You know you're favoring the short until it gets there. And already, now that it's essentially gotten there, I don't even know if I want this one as a fade this afternoon because I was thinking bounce off the 190 and it bounced off 193. With Circle, that's pretty much close enough. Now, there's a lot still going on here that could have it further unwind, especially given the more competition that they're going to face with stable coins. Everyone's going to be in the game. But until it loses that anchored, which will happen if it breaks to 190, it's support till it's not. And I remember I told Michael Nassis, and when we were talking about this anchored, the second it breaks that anchored, I think it's going to be a pretty clean couple of days for 20-25%. But it hasn't happened yet. At some point it's going to happen, and if it does, I think you start looking for the short again. For now, nice little bounce play, and there's no question about it as to whether or not that Powell letter was fake. Like, if you find the one that's going around, if you want a bit of a laugh, just open it up and read it. Very obviously fake.
Yeah, I haven't even seen it. This is why Neil, I stick with the price action, because the price action is just probably going to tell me right away. And yeah, we saw that shake and bake pretty much, reverting that move pretty aggressively right back in on Tesla. So Circle, yeah, a little bit of continuation. We talked about this morning during the morning session. Continuation off of the third day of selling now. Nice little push all the way up into 260s. Failure to follow through. 262.88 was that high specifically, pulling back into some of these consolidation levels. So putting back that anchored VWAP from the IPO open, you can see that we're coming into that right now. 190.62s is where that sits at, Neil, and the current day low is 192.90. So yeah, that's coming in quite nicely, just pulling back into the low of the range. I kind of mentioned this in the pre-market, and I didn't even have the trade myself. Pre-market lows, pre-market highs, prior day lows, prior structure, these highs from here, 203s, 200 breakthrough. There was so many opportunities and places to potentially get short on Circle today, and a little disappointed that I have been borrowing the stock almost every single day, but not necessarily getting involved every single day, especially on days that, yeah, it's showing us that there are sellers in charge, and it continues to do more of the same. So it seems like today, more of the same, coming back into that anchored, and one would argue, yeah, sure, we're still $2 away from that, but guess what? It's Circle. Sometimes the spread is $1. So this is still pretty much as valid as a test of the low of the range. You can see here other prior tests within the area held pretty well as well. Ultimate lows, though, Neil, is that 170, 130. There's still a bit of a double bottom that we've been holding here on Circle. So horizontal support and resistance, I got that on watch. I also have this 182 on watch. And yes, I did have this prior 215.65 high that we did break out of and aggressively push all the way up to 240, was it 262.80s? Yeah, 262.80s, and then lower high at 230. So yeah, Circle's been pretty decent. It seems like it circles back, and it is the gift that keeps on giving.
Ooh,
so
I like that.
One to keep an eye out for. I'm definitely not keeping my eyes on the right kind of things, because GM now is looking like it's making a beeline straight for the low of day. So let's see if this one can drive through some of that support and hit that 49 level. It did take a little bit more there, but don't have nearly as much as I had a little earlier there. But got to do better with taking more size on the right side of the V. But yeah, Wayne was talking to me about this. He's like, dude, if you're not on the right side of the V, how are you ever going to take more size? And I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm trying to figure it out, dude. Sometimes the risk on the right side is actually a lot more than, I don't know. It's wider.
I don't know. Well,
arguable, but yes.
It is.
Because it comes in so hot, is what I'm saying.
Like,
sometimes the backside comes in so hot. And if I'm looking for that kind of selling to come in.
Well, if you looked at Kohl's this morning.
Yeah.
Like you've got, like, when it does this kind of a move.
It's all backside.
Like it's all of it. Like you could literally have been short at any place on the backside, but it always just comes down to where the heck is your out supposed to be.
Yeah.
If you're not at 20 or early, like, okay, fine. When it halted down, you could have shorted 17. You could have shorted $18. Are you risking to the high of the day? That's $3. I don't know. You have to have some kind of a plan at the end of the day, and it looks like the plan of action on Tesla is to absolutely rip the faces off of all of the shorts, Right now, the plan of action on CoreWeave is to rip the faces off all the shorts, and I had one going on CoreWeave. Whatever. Like, it was starting to work, and then I just had to reload it. Could have just left it as was. But CoreWeave, this is squeezing to the upside, 6% on a day where the chips were absolute trash. CoreWeave is looking relatively strong here at that 50. I hate to say it, but this morning, we're like, wait for CoreWeave to get into the mid-130s. Well, we're here now. So the mean reversion trade for myself, and I'm simply reminded of 24 hours ago. 24 hours ago, we were looking at Open. 24 hours ago, Open had the epic fall. And it was very simple. All day long trend line broke. And when it broke, it was like the greatest short you could have imagined for. It went dollar down on a $4.50 stock, and it was free money. Admittedly, my reason for not getting the short is kind of crappy because I was hitting the bid when it was at 450 with my key and getting rejected and wondering why I was getting rejected. The reason was I still had my stop long breakout limit order above $5, which was telling me you have a wash trade. I had to cancel that order before I could hit the bid to go short, and I didn't realize it in the moment. Then I watched it go down. Still took it at the low on the halt, but at the end of the day, you want to be prepared. When CoreWeave gets up into 133 or past this 132, I'm going to look for that same trend break and see if we can't get that short. We're going to Adara.
Just keep an eye here on Joby, J-O-B-Y. About half an hour ago, this is just being reposted on X now, so it's getting a little bit more circulation. Roughly half an hour ago, Joe Ben Bevert, the CEO of the company, posted celebrating the fact that the FAA has finalized and signed their Mosaic. So that's basically the modernization of special airworthiness certification rules. So this will lead to some changes in the light sport aircraft category and sport pilot privileges. That's going to positively impact Joby. So post from the company's CEO celebrating this Mosaic signing. Again, this is about half an hour ago being reposted and sending the stock to the upside. Back to you.
Dara, and there was another note here. There's a lot of stuff going online about, it's more stuff online. And I haven't seen anywhere to confirm it, but fair enough. I'll read it. Because there was a note, SpaceX warning investors Elon could return to U.S. politics. Now, here's the thing. Every single time there's been a headline about Elon and politics, the stock is tanked. Right now, the stock is going through the high of the day. So even if it was true, and I don't know, the reaction is not acting like it's true, the market. And there was a good point in the chat. It's like, you try to ignore the noise and focus on the price action. Well, the price action is telling you we don't care. So at the end of the day, I'm not going to let that affect what I'm looking at right now here on Tesla. I think right now it's looking very trend strong. When the fake letter came out about Powell, it got bought right up at the 330 level. So as far as I'm concerned, and the funny thing is that the Benzinga story was like 10 minutes ago that I saw it like pop up. And there wasn't even a reaction in the stock. It just resumed the trend that it was already on. So everyone out there, I see people in the chat, and I saw it as well, but nothing too crazy happening there for Tesla. As a matter of fact, there is strength, big-time strength coming back in the market. Sorry, Amazon's getting into the volume-weighted average price here. I like Amazon. I like the Zon for some strength. Come on, get your you-know-what past the volume-weighted average price. So I'm checking out CoreWeave. I want to see if we can't get the flush. I mean, flush is the wrong word. The reversion on CoreWeave would be the best way to think about it. Yeah, but it's right at these highs, and it's right at that spot where it did it yesterday. And it's right on the cusp of breaking this trend line here from the volume-weighted average price. And if you look at what this did yesterday when it broke a similar trend, it was absolutely gorgeous. And now that it's close enough to that level, that's the next execution that I'm waiting for.
I like that.
Will be CoreWeave.
I definitely like that. We'll be right back from Madera.
I read through the Bloomberg article, and so here's what happened. Basically, apparently, because again, the headline was pretty vague. It just basically said that SpaceX is warning investors that Elon could return to U.S. politics. So what happened is, and apparently this has never happened before, in the tender offer for SpaceX, they actually included a warning. Again, there's never previously been a warning. So the warning just mentions the fact that Elon Musk was a senior advisor to President Donald Trump related to his work with Doge. And the letter also says that Elon, quote, may in the future serve in similar roles and devote significant time and energy to such roles. So basically, in this letter related to the tender offer, we just have SpaceX warning investors that, hey, Elon Musk will not necessarily always be devoting 100% of his time to this company, which isn't new. Elon has always had many roles and projects that he's juggling at the same time. So apparently that's also they're just naming as a part of the risk factors, I guess, if you get involved in SpaceX. One of the risks could be Elon Musk's politics. That's what I'm getting from this Bloomberg article. It's, again, just a warning based on his past activities. Back to you.
Thanks, Ida. Basically, it's like, think of it like the McDonald's, this coffee is hot.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all that nonsense is.
Here's the thing. You know what I never
Coffee is
understood?
hot, don't burn yourself.
Nice look on the CoreWeave shirt there. You know what I never understood, Neil? I'm like, these investors, these people, just maybe even the general population. As soon as Elon is like, oh, he's spending too much time away from one company or the other, for some reason they're like, oh, this company's going to do whatever, and it starts to sell off, or there's panic or something like that, which is absolutely crazy to me. The guy juggles like so many different tasks, so many different businesses. He's the richest man in the world, dude. Like, get over yourselves, investors. You know what I mean? Like, just relax. The guy obviously knows what he's doing. He can handle and juggle so many things all at once. So why do you have fear that, okay, he's focused on something for a few more months? Like, bigger picture, has Tesla not just stair-step, squeeze, stair-step, stair-step, stair-step? Like, the chart can speak for itself.
True, but I don't want the guy making enemies with the president. But that's saying,
I don't think he's doing that.
It can get there's a bit of an overreaction.
It's 100% overreaction.
But at the same time, when it happens to the stock as a shareholder, it's at the point now where as long as buyers and sellers react to it, then I'm going to hate it every single time I see it. Randy?
We'll go to Adara first, then we'll come back.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you for that, Randy. I just want to mention AMZN. CNBC, there's been so many headlines today, guys. CNBC reporting that Donald Trump met with Jeff Bezos, of course, founder and former CEO of Amazon, current chairman of Amazon, I believe, as well. Basically, Trump reportedly met with Bezos in the Oval Office last week for over an hour. Again, CNBC reporting a more than an hour-long meeting between Jeff Bezos and Donald Trump. Back to you.
All I wanted to say was we need to have a moment for Ozzy. Crazy train. Just, I can't believe it. Anyway. Yeah, Ozzy, here's to you, buddy. To Saba, to the boys. We're gonna
Legends.
We're gonna miss you.
Legends.
Anyway, back to trading.
And it's
Thank you,
like
Randy.
2 days in a row, man.
Yeah, back to
Yesterday
back.
at 2 o'clock, we found out about Malcolm Jamal Warner. Then we found out about Oz. Yeah, it's sad. 76 with family. I don't even know any of the details, but I did see one note, which telling you, like, if you're with your loved ones, I don't think you can ask too much more. But Obi, you made a really, really good point, and you're 1,000% right about this. I have a really bad habit, and I know why I do this, of adding liquidity when I should remove liquidity, which would explain to me why I don't actually have, like I didn't get a full fill because I'm trying to passively get into the position, and it doesn't happen. That said, I'm not changing anything. 130 to me is going to be the out here on CoreWeave. Just zooming it out so you can have a bit of a look here. The last couple of times, like if you look at this price area, we had a rejection. So on the downside, we had a rejection at 130 on the way to the downside. And if you zoom it out further, like this has been a pretty good range-bound trade from 132 into the 130 level. I don't actually have 132 short. I'm short 131.5, but I'm looking for the target down at 130 here on CoreWeave. You're right. Feed the thinker. Someone gives Randy a hug. He seems truly hurt by Ozzy. Yeah, man. I actually don't. Randy's not the kind of guy who's ever. I mean, you know what? He's like just literally never down. Never. Randy always has like energy, smile on his face. Like you could tell. And at the end of the day, sometimes like it hits. I don't know. Sometimes certain ones hit harder than others, and obviously that kind of sucks. I mean, not kind of sucks. It flat out sucks. Let's call it what it is, man. It flat out sucks. I'm trying to get back to the market here. Go Bills asking how much further can Netflix go to the downside? 1180? It just broke 1200, but it's been up and down the 1200 level a few times. I only say 1180 because I know this level on the chart as the last line of support underneath the 50 period moving average until you get to like 1100 bucks. So 1180 and $1,100 on Netflix. Everything about this has been trending down from the high, and until proven otherwise, I just think this is on a bit of a sell-off, and it's slight, reasonable sell-off on Netflix ever since their earnings. But keep perspective in mind, zoom out to a weekly chart, and that would tell you even further. Like on a weekly chart, somewhere around 1080 to 1100 would be pretty reasonable of a dip buy, and then you're very much still on trend. So on a daily, yeah, 1180 looks like the level if you're not doing the 1100 even. And CoreWeave, I think I canceled that offer. There's no point. If it comes back up to the high, I don't want it. And now that we're in the pocket trying to grab this 130, if it bounces here, I could also ultimately just punch out if I see it starting to pick up on the tape in CoreWeave. So we got the mean reversion on CoreWeave. We're looking for it in the 130 level, and eyeballs still very much on this. I might get one more reload on Robinhood, and I'll just show you a hood here. There's the volume weighted average price. It's bouncing in front of 120 or 102, so like 102 change. I got sixes last time. I'm going to try and get another reload as it's curling as we speak.
Something?
So that's Robinhood.
That's Robinhood, yeah.
Oh, sorry, I was sitting there on CoreWeave, but I was trying to show you guys Robinhood without getting away from the CoreWeave. There's the volume weighted average price on Robinhood. So Robinhood bouncing off VWAP over and over and over again.
Ooh,
I'm going to get some orders out in front of the $0.50 because that's all it's giving you. Right now it's just giving you the $0.50 and maybe a little bit more than that. So we'll scalp a bit out, still holding some for the bigger break. Nice rebound in the market at the end of the day here, everybody, but it does make me wary when you're breaking out like this of hanging on to this short in CoreWeave. It starts catching a bid. If you were dip buying, I think you'd be buying at the 130 area.
Yeah, that CoreWeave solid entry on that trend break. You called it out, had the execution, and it's coming into fruition as of right now. Something that isn't bouncing right now, Neil, is GM. Bit of a dead cat bounce on this one as it pushes back into day lows. Current day low is sitting at, I think it's 49.08, so that's correct. 49.08 is currently trading at 49.28, so just about 20 pennies away. I'm holding on just to a very, very small breadcrumb of what I initially had. Again, on the front side, not doing the best doing that. But when it does come in, I got to do a little bit better. $50 back through was the place to get in. Bit of a double top here on after that structure underneath the 50, kind of giving us more indication that, okay, we might not trade a little bit higher, breaking that trend, that slight shorter time frame uptrend. So overall, it's just a dead cat bounce here on GM after an earnings report, which it was sold off of. $5 reserve on the ask here on NIO, interestingly enough. So yeah, definitely $5 is a bit of an interesting level when it comes to stocks in the stock market. And when something's just holding on the ask like that, it definitely is interesting, Neil.
Thank you very much. And that brought to you by Beta Pro, by Globex. And I'm telling you, here in Canada, if you're a savvy investor and you want to boost your exposure, you can now tap into the Nasdaq 100 and the S&P 500 with Beta Pro 3 times daily leveraged ETFs, featuring built-in FX hedging. This aims to amplify short-term market moves, minimizing the impact of currency swings. Whether you're feeling bullish or bearish, these ETFs are built for active day traders ready to take on the market. Read the full risk disclosure in the prospectus at betapro.ca before investing. Scan the QR code you see out in front of you, and we'll go right to the desk with breaking news with Adara.
Just keep an eye here on Cognizant Technology Solutions, CTSH. In case you guys do not remember, you were not aware, so in 2023, Clorox experienced a cyber attack. Now, almost 2 years later, that was, I believe, in the fall of 2023, Clorox now says they're suing Cognizant over the cyber attack. They're claiming that apparently the hackers just asked for passwords and received passwords. So Cognizant is to blame, according to Clorox again. Clorox reportedly announcing that they are suing Cognizant, CTSH. A little bit of a drop here. Have to see how that recovers. Back to you.
Clorox trying to clean up their act. I guess they weren't very cognizant about that one
Get
on
it,
the
OB.
initial push. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you. Here all day. Only about an hour and 10 minutes, but yeah. The market's pushing back up to its highs, but that's only the ES, Neil. The Nasdaq is severely lagging behind here, and sometimes I'm just like, all right, well, if it's lagging behind, is it going to catch up, or is the ES going to come in? Are they related like that? I have no idea, but sometimes you do see that lagging kind of a push, but I think it happens a little bit more in the morning session than it does in the end of day session here. But yeah, no, I'm looking for the next trade, Neil. It's something that is reverting almost back to its highs. That is one of the Mag 7s with respect to the Nasdaq is Google, but Google looking distinctly different. So let's take a look at Google here as it pushes all the way back. So what a beautiful, beautiful reversion. All day grinding trend back up to its highs. This is a 15-minute chart. We can probably see a little bit more granularity on a 3-minute chart as we push a little bit higher. I guess, what was this shake and bake? Highest volume candles on the day here. Nice little shake and bake, and price is trading now above those references. That's interesting. That'll definitely take us to high a day, building some pressure like that. Seems interesting enough that yesterday closing pretty strong as well. So buyer sentiment still very, very intact when it comes to goggles here. Let's look at a higher time frame, 3 hours. Actually, no, forget that. We'll go straight up to the weekly and remove some of these indicators so we can get a better look at it. And we have aggressive strength on the weekly, gapping up this week actually, Neil, with only about 3 days left in the trading week. You can see a strong push, gapping up above prior week's highs, and we've had the strong push coming into the week on Google. Yesterday,
It'll be 10 days in a row.
Yeah, 10 days in a row.
It'll tie the record for the most up days in a row.
But it's had green days on
for Alphabet
in between, though, right?
Well,
it's had red days. Like, look, I'm seeing a red day. Friday was a red day. Tuesday was a red day. Wednesday was a red day. They're still, I think it's, is it consecutive closes higher? Because that would be, if it's consecutive closes higher. Okay, so that makes sense. So yeah, closes higher than prior days close. Yes, that's still very much valid. We've been holding that really well. But in between, yeah, a little bit of a chop, some red days along the way. But interesting observation there with that close being back-to-back jacks, I guess. 13 days, yeah, holding that 172, 175 area. I remember I was around here looking at this 175 for a potential push into the stock, and it seems like it's getting that continuation on its way to all-time highs, just like the rest of them are, man. Just like the rest of them are. Some of them lagging behind a lot more than others, but you can see the futures. We've gone through a few cycles, and it's funny when, you know, I've seen, yes, Trump does this often, but you see presidents do this every now and then. They're like, oh, you know, market is at all-time highs, and they somehow associate it to being relative to their presidency. But if you guys look at the stats, the SPY hits all-time highs at least a few times a year. So, you know what I mean? It's a nice little fugazi. It's a nice little fugazi meant for the people. And if you're buying that up, then you got to run some stats, guys.
Yeah, I mean, the market hits all-time highs like Mullen hits all-time lows.
Yes. That's a great way to put it.
Someone just told me in the chat, someone earlier was like, someone said buy Mullen in the chat, first of all, which I know you were joking with me. And then After Star says, oh my God, Mullen is at 8 cents. And even I was like, come on, man, it's not at 8 cents. And it is. Even I didn't, for a split second, I didn't even realize this had even happened on this stock. You could arguably, like, if your entire trade plan was just to look to short Mullen every single day, every day, you might actually be the greatest trader. I don't know. Like, it's just, is there a better trade in the universe than shorting the stock? Anyways, that's neither here nor there. I will acknowledge that, yeah, I probably could be doing this almost every single day. Cost of borrows is clearly going to be your barrier there for sure. I did get CoreWeave did bounce essentially off the 130, so got out of the mean reversion trade. The Nasdaq is about to break, but the ES, here's the ES. The ES is breaking through as we speak. Like we're busting out on the ES, and the Nasdaq is doing its best to join it in here. I'm just going to pull these charts over. It's a lot easier. Doing its best to join, not breaking the highs because it is lagging. Saw what happened to chips is a good example of why. But breaking this channel bottom that we've had, and that gives you some bullishness going into the afternoon. A nice V-shaped recovery for sure. I only have Robinhood off the volume-weighted average price we showed you and then just got out of CoreWeave. Let me know what else you guys are watching here, because I just saw 1, 2, 0, and George Fontes in the chat and Jamie all talking about back to 120. We're going back to 120, 20. Let's go. We don't want 120. Obi, hit me with the number that we need in Bitcoin. You know it.
What?
What number do we need in Bitcoin?
One.
No.
One. I'm just saying numbers.
You're the
What
one
number
that
do I
every
need?
single.
I need one Bitcoin. I would like one Bitcoin.
123, and you even had.
Oh, the high a day. Sorry, all-time highs is 123.23.107 on Bitcoin. Thank you. Yeah, that's the number you were looking for.
I'm just saying, this dude has been reciting the high on Bitcoin every time it comes up, like he's memorizing pi. And the one time I set it up.
Oh boy.
No, but that's, look, obviously, we all wanted to get up there, but you're getting a nice volume candle here. Where's the join? That's my first thought. Where are we looking at on the daily here? There's overhead resistance at 68.55 on IBIT, so eyeball it. What's that? It's going to be like 120 and a half, 124, something along those lines. But I think this, if we continue this kind of volume, your biggest volume candle since the open. So this is something legitimate happening here on Bitcoin.
It's happening.
It's happening. Maybe we'll nibble in. This is going to give a benefit to Robinhood. Why am I not getting filled on the offer of Hood? That's just bizarre. Hood's not really going. So I just instantly offered something out in Hood. I'll show you. And it's going to code as a short sell. I'll move it down a little bit. You're barely moving on Hood off of the volume-weighted average price when Bitcoin's going ham. So I don't necessarily love that. And IBIT doesn't want to let me in there. Right, I shouldn't be chasing this because you got overhead resistance at 68 and 55. I was hoping to kind of get in on that little push and then have a really tight stop. And then once it broke the next candle up, you'd have your momentum push. But otherwise, I'm just going to wait this out, see if we get a little bit of a dip buy action. I can't even get filled on the offer of Robinhood while Bitcoin is doing this. Crazy.
So I got a question for you guys, because I saw this stat, or not stat, this occurrence posted over the weekend. You guys know that Bitcoin blockchain technology, no transaction is hidden from the blockchain. So I want to ask you guys, what were you guys doing in 2011? Because there was a Bitcoin transaction that happened this weekend from a participant who bought about $54,000 worth of Bitcoin in 2011.
I know what I wasn't doing.
So yeah, a lot of people invest. They buy homes. They buy this. They buy that. This person ended up buying about $54,000 worth of Bitcoin. That was about 80,000 Bitcoin at the time in 2011. And guess what? That participant sold over the past, I think, week or so for a whopping gain of $9.6 billion. Taxes on that are going to be pretty interesting. But even if you get to keep half, oh boy.
Chilling.
So a lot of people talk about investments. A lot of people talk about swing trading and long-term investments and real estate and this and that and stock market, dollar cost averaging, buy the S&P 500. What about Bitcoin?
YOLO.
By far, one of the best performing assets of all time.
Easily.
All time.
Easily.
And it keeps most people away because they're like, oh, crazy volatility.
Oh no, crazy volatility. Well,
But
here's the reality.
that's the price. That's the game. That's the price you have to pay for the game you're willing to. You know what I mean? $9.6 billion in 15 years, in less than 15 years. Try making that.
Everybody's
Started off with 54,000.
Everyone's got that one story. We're like, oh, well, you know, this person was telling me about crypto and I could have pulled the trigger at this moment and didn't do it. And look, that's just the reality. But in terms of the whole, people talk about the volatility and it gets people away from it. There's a great microcosm of that here today. We were discussing this. I was busy in the dip this morning My first thought as the market was dipping this morning was, oh, I like Amazon at 226. Let me go mean reversion on Amazon because I think it's strong relative to the market and the bounce is pretty muted. But you really think about it, on the days where we have that kind of heavy sell action, what are the stocks that if you think there's going to be a reversion, what's going to usually provide the biggest bounce? The stocks with a little bit more volatility, the Palantirs of the world, bounce more. Like Palantir, and I'm not saying, look, at the end of the day, like there's nothing wrong with Amazon, and it kind of worked, but at the end of the day, when Palantir reverts, it reverts bigger. When Tesla reverts, it reverts bigger. So to me, the heavier the move to the downside, sometimes at the open, if you're looking for that mean revert trade, just pick the thing that's really going to go. And it's fine. Like part of it had to do with the fact that I was long biased from yesterday on Amazon, and you're watching what you're watching in the moment, and you're trying to read the turn on a specific stock. But a lot of times, if you can just find something which might give you a better way to express the trade more explosively, fair enough. Like you're looking for the turn somewhere in the stock, you might as well pick the one that gives you the best R&R in that particular moment, because the market's going to V-shape recovery. The whole reason you trade equity is because you want something that's going to go more than the market. That's the whole reason traders trade equity names. So everyone would just trade the futures. But you know that if you get the right ones, they're going to move more than the market in that same move. My mistake, and again, mistake to the extent that it wasn't the best play, was picking Amazon this morning. And that just goes to the point of you got to have volatility if you want to take that risk. And that's just how it works. But here comes Hood. Remember I was saying when Bitcoin was going up, Robinhood was nothing more than a scalp trade? Well, Bitcoin came back a little bit, and Hood's right back at the volume weighted average price. It just is not really moving. So I don't want to reload this again off VWAP. If we lose VWAP, I punch out, and I might just take this one out at the $0.50 if I can even get it again. Just a bit of a disappointment. And the other thing, just double before I get away from this. Yeah, let me get out of here. As I get out of that, the other thing that happened is that move in IBIT started to pull back in. So if Bitcoin's going to bounce off the prior high, what's moving more right now, Bitcoin or Robinhood? Bitcoin. So if I'm going to play the dip buy bounce, I'm going to do it in the thing which is going more. Like if I lose buying the dip, I'm going to lose buying it on the stock that I think has a better chance to rip. Not that Robinhood can't. Oh, it's Power Hour. One thing I forgot to mention. As of the close tonight, Block is being added to the S&P 500. Going to have that up on a side chart. I am obviously favoring the long. It does not mean Block is going to be a buy and balance, everybody. And as a matter of fact, because it's 3 o'clock, I just reminded myself to get an early look at said imbalances. Oh, and lo and behold, Block is already $4 million to buy. We're expecting a little bit more than that. I think we're expecting about, was that big? 94. Let me just double check another source. It wasn't 94 million. Oh, it's 94.
It's kind of flushing right now.
I don't know. I have one source saying 94 million, another one saying it could be as big as 70 million. Right now, it's only 4 million to the buy side with 13 paired. And what is Block doing?
Dropping like it's hot. XYZ right here.
It really is.
Yeah, so it is kind of dropping right there. Pretty aggressively back down into the low of day consolidation. So pretty much sideways action on the day. Seems like there was a held offer here, Neil, in the morning session. Similar area to where supply kind of stepped in on the intraday consolidations yesterday, 79 halves. Couldn't really get past 79 halves with any sort of distinction today. High of day printing at 79.58 with a bunch of little wicks just pushing past less than a dime above that 79 half. Coming back in are those sellers bringing it back down to the lower end of the range, this time only making a high of 79.37, so distinctly lower than some of those prior highs, breaking that trend back down into some of these lows. 78.50, so it's almost about $1 worth of a range, opening range lows as well as a low of day, coming in and around 78.26. Let's get specific. 78.26 is the specific price I have here. And oh boy, GM down to its lows here, Neil. So yeah, I did kind of fumble this one, not holding some of that size, or not even adding on when the trade does become a little bit better here, and it gives me lower highs for a potential push back down. After I realize, yeah, the long is definitely not it, when sellers step right back in through 50, and I'm like, this might be seeing some multi-day moves here, Neil. GM selling off aggressively, dead cat bounce, failure to follow through 50, breaking through low a day within the last hour of the day. I'm just going to put it out there. I'm probably going to look for continuation going into tomorrow. And again, defining some of these levels like I just did. 50.27, I think, is that high. Underneath 50s, VWAP as well. I like prior day VWAP. I like prior day lows and highs as well to give me a little bit of direction on the trade ideas and confluence for the executions that I might want to take. But 49's holding as of right now, held pretty well in the morning session. Also, this one is not SSR. I think the other name that I was trading, QS, was SSR. Let's see what that one is up to. Last time I checked, the selling wasn't really coming in, and we were grinding to the upside, and that was around the midday session. So let's take a quick look and see what that's been up to. Oh boy. More grinding action here on QS, almost back at yesterday's highs, yesterday's opening range highs, where those sellers stepped in quite aggressively in through 14, in through 13 halves. You can see that on a higher time frame, this thing has been trending up aggressively back-to-back days. Look at this. You're talking about Google holding that 10-day push. Look at QuantumScape. This has been holding for over 15 days. You can see here, what is that? Yeah, 16 bars to the upside, straight greens. That's not even including this consolidation. A bit of a red day yesterday on that first little pullback, and then wiping all the way back. So what a wind up, what a shake and bake from yesterday. Sure, some profit taking, but buyers stepping in long and strong on the day today, pushing it all the way back up into a potential test of 14, Neil. So QuantumScape, yeah, coming into next week, definitely going to be on watch. I was looking for a continuation, to be honest, because I was like, all right, well, is this the reversion? If I throw up, do I have an anchored on here? Yes, I do. So anchored off of this, maybe if you want to be a little, I guess, conservative or maybe more precise, I guess you can be like, all right, I want volume that breaks through this consolidation high and makes this push actually good. We bounce off of that today. You can see that's coming in. Let's go to the 15-minute chart so we can kind of push that in a little bit cleaner. So you can see extends off of that, pulls back into it yesterday, and guess what? We find a bid exactly on and through that level there. A little bit of a consolidation from prior days anchored, gives us a little bit of a chop. I was getting involved in and around here for a potential short, didn't have me. Breaks out, grinding higher on the day today. Seems like that buying pressure that's been there for multiple days back to back still continues to be very, very much dominant and very much in charge on QuantumScape. So yeah, I do have it on watch along with the rest of the quantum names, just because it has the word quantum in it. I know they don't necessarily do similar things to some of the other names like Rigetti or QBTS or QUBT or IONQ. Rigetti, yeah, solid short. Was it off the open today, right?
It was the same as, let me get to Rigetti in a quick little second. Just very quickly, went away from Robinhood. Hey, if Robinhood goes more, then I'll be disappointed, but I did make the dip buy into iBit. It didn't quite get to 68 even, but bounced out in front. We're looking for the curl in front of that level. So the second it bounced, got in, was able to add here. My average price is 11.5. So you can see here, I'm looking to scalp into the high. It feels like the market's getting a little toppy and it's power hour, so we'll go for a little bit of scalp trade. The thing I don't love and why I wouldn't hold more aggressively through the high is the dwindling volume. Like that big, massive volume spike that took us to the upside, you've been dwindling since. So I'm expecting a lower high here, and that's why I want to get some sells in the low 20s, low to mid 20s, get this out in front of the high of the day. Just a little dip buy on schedule, but whether it was Rigetti or IonQ or QBTS, oh, that's a nice bounce on Rigetti. It wasn't the open, because I know Obi just said you had to short the open. It wasn't the same as short. Like in open, we had short at the open, right at the open. Now I'm saying open way too many times. Here it was more the fact that you missed the short here, and once it confirmed it was losing prior day low, short the next available entry, which was at the volume weighted average price. So I took the on trend trade with this after missing the absolute, like the real breakdown was here, and then you had another chance to get in. But sometimes the market gives you an opportunity to get back into a trade or get into a trade that you've missed. When that happens, you should take it. Because if you wanted it before at that price and it's confirming that direction, it's like the market doesn't care that you missed it 10 cents ago or whatever it is. Just take the trade. Let's go back up to the desk with Adara, and I'm going to get more out of this IBIT before it runs out of steam.
Here is our daily calendar for July 23rd, 2025 for TTV Research. Now, why am I reminding you guys of this? Because we have 2 of the 7 Mag 7 reporting tomorrow after the bell, Google and Tesla. Now, I will not be here. I will be away for about 3 days, but not to fear. Of course, there's going to be awesome earnings coverage in the market recap still. Joe and Neil, I'm guessing, and maybe Sharif as well will be holding down the fort. But I also want to let you guys know we will continue to have a steady stream of TTV Research posts. While I'm on vacation, I've already made the visuals and pre-scheduled them to post. So you will still be getting daily earnings calendars at 3 p.m. Eastern the day before. So the Thursday calendar will come out 3 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday, et cetera, et cetera. We'll also get a weekly calendar posted as well. So you're still going to get all of the information you need in addition to some fun infographic, just normal content. Just check this out on X at TTV Research. Still definitely going to be there to help you guys out. Back to you.
All right, everybody. I want to know, like this morning, it was absolutely ham for Open and KSS. And Fabian has done a great job building this out for us. So remember, I want everyone to type $ symbol. What is the biggest symbol? What is going to move the most? What are you watching in the final hour? And what's going to have the most exciting close, or just what piques your interest? Obviously, Open, Tesla, NIO, all names that have done absolutely crazy. So hit the, make sure, remember, $. Get in the chat and put in $ and your ticker. And believe me, you can see them coming in there. BITF, SLOXL, Uber is a good one. Open coming in. Tilray, oh, smoke it up, Tilray. Tilray with an update today. That's kind of crazy. Palantir, we're starting to see them coming, so keep them coming. Remember to hit that $, and we'll see who leads the race in just a little bit. We'll revisit that in a few minutes and be able to double check to see. $, you're not going to get bull. I just saw someone type in Webull. It's not going to work. You got to go $ bull. As a matter of fact, I'm going to make my vote, and I'm not going to tell you what I'm voting for. It's Webull. Oh, it is Webull. Webull's been awesome. I'm just saying, Webull's having a good day. But that being said, I was reminded, weed stocks go up. It does.
You're telling me they get higher?
Well done, Obi. Well done, Obi. We'll give you this one.
Hey, thank you.
Yes. High of the day, 16% for Tilray. Unbelievable. And you know what, Obi?
Yep.
You could have had that trade.
Oh.
Any of us could have had that trade. On trend to the upside, right? Pull back, very distinct trend line. I mean, come on, it draws itself. Big spike, you go long on VWAP, and it trends to the high of the day. It's a 75-cent stock. If it was a $75 stock, would you be happy getting 75 to 79? Yes, you would. Penny stock, same thing. We're not in it, but keep typing those symbols in there. Let us know. I feel as if this little micro bounce on IBIT, this is all we're getting. Disappointed that after that huge volume spike, we don't really get a lot of continuation. But the market's going to do what it does and doesn't really care what you want. So it doesn't seem like it wants to go too much further. I'm just going to tighten my stop up a little bit here to give it to exactly underneath this wick. No need to lose anymore. Hopefully we can get a little bit of a secondary bounce to push us into the high. But the scalp trade, if it only gives you a little scalp trade, then that's what you should take as far as I'm concerned. You're not getting too much more than that here on IBIT. Nice start, but no finish. No real finish to that move. It's able to get a little bit of a bounce level. And again, one of the things that we pride ourselves on is, well, what are you looking for? As it's pulling back, not going to just buy a random price. Okay, you bought in front of 68, but it's not because it's a round number. It simply was the open top. Opening range high happened to be 68, so that's where I was looking for the bounce. And to go even further, when it broke this candle here, which is 68.06, I see it bounce off 68.04. I'm like, okay, that's close enough. I'm punching in as it's taking out this prior bar open, and then I'm adding to it when it holds this prior bar low on the next candle. So it's a very simple strategy to get that long trade for sure. And you know what? Webull is going. Come on, son. Of course it's going. It's Webull. Everyone's long underneath $11, right? Everybody? Right? Hopefully?
Not me.
SPAC at $10 goes down to $10, and you want to buy it in front of $10. Just let it go all the way back to 10. It still hasn't done that breakout that we're looking for. Once it gets past about 17 change, then we can make the run at this level, which is 19. Once you're through 19, boom. It's not going back up to $70 or whatever the heck it was before, but I'll be pretty happy to see it in the 20s if we can take out, I'm talking get back into like 24, 25 in here. Everything underneath the low on the crazy squeeze day, which is 25 something. So I think you get into that range, and that provides a great target. Great little bottoming pattern here on Webull. 9%, 10% to the upside here today. Can't go wrong with it. The trend has been fantastic, and the best part about this was when there was all that sell the news. Remember on Friday when it was everything adjacent to crypto and fintech or whatever was selling off at the end of the day. You saw, look, Circle got punked. ETH was pulling back, like Coinbase, like everything was pulling back. Bull was breaking out. It was showing you some of its relative strength that day. And even with the pullback here today, holds on to that same support level. Like this is the end of the week when everything was topping out, and it holds on like an absolute champion at $14.50. Love what this stock is doing. Technically, it does need to break away from 17, and then we're all systems go to get that double up.
Yeah, I think funny story about that you mentioned Tilray. Somebody in the chat was like, Tilray needs to go up 100% for me to be break even on my portfolio, and I'm just like, yep. Sounds about right. I know I've said this story a couple of times, but my first exposure to the stock market was I think it was sometime in 2018. 2017, I had a couple friends who were like dabbling in it as well, and I was like, I didn't know what the stock market was. I didn't know what stocks were, to be honest. And I was just like, I started, I came back home from the island life. And I was like, all right, the boys are trading stocks. I'm like, what are you guys trading? So this is going into 2019 is when I started kind of delving into stocks. And funny enough, my first purchase, Neil, my first amazing big idea was to get long my whole account into all of these cannabis names. So I had Tilray, I had Euphoria, I had, what was the other one? I
was in that one.
CGC. I had Hexo. I had a lot of Hexo. Don't know where those guys are now. But yeah, I pretty much, I got in. I might have done some DCAing because everyone's like, oh, when you buy stocks, you got to do some DCA. I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna put some more. And guess what? I bought it going into Canadian legalization. Yeah, I had some ACB as well. I see people put, so I had this basket. I had this basket of marijuana stocks, and I'm like, all right, this is gonna be perfect. Canada's gonna legalize it. Everyone's gonna be smoking. Everyone's gonna be buying more. These companies are gonna be making more money. I'm like, companies make more money, stock goes up, right? That's how it works. I don't know. That's the OB 2019. And it was probably the best lesson I learned on what sell the news means and what getting sold to and being sold to means in the market. And I made it a vow to myself. I was just like, I don't want to get sold to ever again. I'm so skeptical about price action sometimes, and maybe that's why I like reversions, because I'm like, this is clear mispricing. I just have to time it better. That's what I learned over time. I was like, just time it a little bit better, and you can probably capitalize on what you think is some decent mispricing there. But yeah. Yeah, save man, woman, peace, saying pretty much a drug dealer. Yeah, I was buying and selling marijuana stocks. Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of people in the chat who have a similar experience.
Yeah, I bagged a lot of those. They went to zero. You know what I mean? I was just like, oh, they've got it. I like blind hope was what that trade basically was, and it was a great lesson to learn. And I was just like, all right, well, if this happens in the market often, then the trade that I took, which was basically buying the top and then selling the bottom, I like that trade, which is basically the short, the swing short. So I started looking into swing shorts, which was pretty nice. Swing shorts are still pretty nice, but yeah. You want an example of a great swing short? Look at some of the IPOs from like, I mean, Robinhood. Look at Robinhood.
Robinhood's a good example.
Look at Webull.
Oh, but
Sure, they've curled back up.
do we have to? Do we have to punk those stocks? Can we just punk something that?
There was that one. I'm trying to remember. It went up to like, was it yes, Rivian. Rivian IPO short. Because off of the open, we did squeeze. Yeah, that 180 push.
Maybe a monthly.
Yeah, 180 push. I remember that, and I was like, oh boy, when the backside comes in, and look at the swing short on Rivian. Absolutely beautiful.
It's over.
Right?
That's.
Oh my God. Whew. CCIV saying Chris L. Yes.
That was one.
CCIV was probably my best trade because I was like, SPAC, this is a joke. If you're going to have a $10 wall, I'm going to just try to get in as close to the NAV as possible and push in max BP. And I did that a couple of times, and I did that on CCIV, which turned into Lucid, and look at where Lucid is now. It's never gone back up to those prices. I remember getting 55 sells. Funny enough, the degen in me, so I have all these shares of CCIV, and then it's like, I'm like, oh my God, we're ripping. So I start selling some, and I'm like, this is so dumb now that I think about it in retrospect. I got up from my trading desk, and I'm like, I need to buy more, so I went straight to the bank during the open market to put more money into my trading account. And then I saw it started to sell, and I'm like, I started just selling on my phone. I'm like, okay, this is not going to be good. This was a horrible idea. But, you know, I've done some pretty degen things, I would say.
It's a bold move, Cotton.
So I was like, I need to buy more.
That's a bold move.
Got to re-up the trading account right now, middle of the day. And I'm like, I'm never leaving my desk.
Is this a good time to tell everybody that FINRA is actually, this is, by the way, this is what I'm about to say is completely true.
Boy.
I just forgot we should be mentioning this. FINRA is looking into lowering the minimum amount from 25,000 to 2,000 for the PDT rule, which obviously is going to pique the interest of retail traders. Can I just you're belching any part of this? So you actually got up and went?
No, I went. I was at the bank. I was at the bank, and then I used Trade Zero. So I had Trade Zero on my phone, and I was looking at my position. I'm like, okay, I'm standing in line at the bank, and I'm just like, oh, damn, this thing's starting to sell. I'm like, okay, I'm selling 50%, selling another 25%, and I'm like, wow, this is really starting to come in. And then I just wipe it. I'm like, okay, I'm still going to transfer more in, but I'm going to be willing to buy lower, which I never did. So was a pretty funny story. I definitely would have gotten better prices if I was to sell if I was at my desk. So that was a bit of a miss on my part. If you go back, I think the highs were like, I think it was 60 something or maybe 80. I don't remember correctly, but I had 55 sells on average, which was, you know, ended up being all right. You know, $10 to 55, not too bad.
Oh, I want to.
But yeah.
Just because where was it in the chat? Someone was asking me when that was going to take place. By the way, we just broke that. It's not 68, but I tightened the stop up a little bit to the higher low and just jumped out of that IBIT bounce trade. It doesn't really seem to be doing too much of anything. The timeline for that PDT, there is none yet. Now, I've seen a lot. That's a BS rule. A lot of people don't like that rule. I'm not a huge fan of that rule myself. We don't have it here in Canada. But in terms of timeline, I can't see them going 24-hour markets if the PDT rule is in effect at 25,000.
Yeah.
So if that's something that people are looking for next, as soon as next year, at some point, the talk is that we could have legitimate 24-hour markets across the board. No way are they going to have the PDT rule as is in effect when that happens.
It doesn't make sense.
So trust me, everybody will be arguing for that. So I would suspect it should happen at some time before. And I do agree. Or alpha. If there was a hard timeline on this, then I think we could be looking at actually trading Hood and Bull off of that news. But really, Hood's having a nothing move because it's so far up, and Bull's having a good day maybe because of the technicals, certainly. But let's be real, I think that is a boon for them, no questions asked. There was nothing on timeline when I read that note. And I believe we have a super chat that we missed. Apologies for that.
Yeah, I think we missed a couple of them there.
And it was from Jedi. Oh, we got a bunch here.
Oh, boy.
We got a bunch. Patrick Jam, you called the BTC break at 9:39 a.m. Well, that was right about here it started to break. The reversion, obviously off the lows, that was tricky if you had the long at 939 because you had to weather a little bit of a storm there, but Bitcoin definitely strong. Fish, back into the chat, 1986, fleece, NBA card box better than Microsoft stock.
Yeah, I mean, that can be very true, Neil.
That can be very true.
Like, for example, like the Pokemon card
86.
Charizard.
Jordan's not in the 86. He'd be in the 85, wouldn't he? Anyways, doesn't matter.
Some playing cards have done better than the market.
Oh, of course, that's going to be true.
But liquidity is the issue.
Yeah,
right?
some art, of course. Like anybody can buy Microsoft stock. Anybody could have bought Bitcoin. I mean, there's a limiting factor of how many rare cards you can get. Jedi, hello, good day. What do you think Hood? Do you think Hood could enter the S&P 500 next month? We're going to go to Darren a quick second for breaking news. Robinhood's going to get their time. Predicting who is going to be next requires somebody to come out of the index or is to get like year-end rebalancing. Everyone has thought Hood for a while. I didn't think Block was going to get it before Hood did, and that's exactly what happened. Sometimes you just have to stop speculating about it. They're not in the index. Has that actually stopped this move in Robinhood? And isn't it already priced in? Like, look at the chart. I feel like by the time they get into the S&P, it's like it's not going to matter because it's been priced in for so long. So I really don't know. I thought they were going to be next, and it hasn't happened. So I'm done speculating when Robinhood's going to get into the S&P 500. It'll happen when it happens. Let's go to Adara.
Tariff announcement of the day from Donald Trump. By tariff, I mean some resolution here and a trade deal. These deals do involve tariffs, though. Earlier today, Donald Trump announced a deal with the Philippines. Today, President Trump, or I guess just now, President Trump announcing a deal with Indonesia via a Truth Social post. He said that apparently Indonesia will be open market to American industrial tech products and energy goods, and agricultural goods. They'll eliminate 99% of their tariff barriers. The U.S. will charge a 19% tariff for Indonesia because they said, they are going to have to pay that 19% tariff to enter into the USA, quote, the best market in the world, in the Truth Social post. Indonesia will also be supplying the U.S. with their precious critical minerals, and there's going to be big deals, quote, worth tens of billions of dollars to purchase Boeing aircraft, among other things. So BA getting a little bit of a spike here. Long story short, new trade deal, with Indonesia involving Boeing aircraft is announced by Donald Trump, president of the U.S., on Truth Social. Back to you.
Yeah, Boeing's stuck in the middle, right? Like they're getting deals with Asia in Asia, good for Boeing, and then you had the EU saying that that's going to be a bargaining chip for them. Obviously, they got Airbus over there, but Boeing, while all this has happened, it's just consolidating off the top in Boeing, and there's a decent chance. Well, I mean, you guys can see what's happening. It's 233 on Boeing, and every time it gets in there, it's just been sold, and you know the story. There's a decent chance that when this breaks, you're going to want to be in it to the long side if you're a short-term trader. And that's, as a day trader, you look at these consolidations off the top, and I understand it can go both ways, but I know which way I always want it to go. You can make money when these break down, but it's always a heck of a lot more fun when it breaks to the upside. So eyes on Boeing for this. Let's see if we can't grab it at some point in the future. It's 328, so going to give another look to the imbalances. Block is still only $5 million to buy. That's not really going to cut it. Not as big as we would have been looking for. It did catch a bounce. I'm going to show you. When we first looked at the early look imbalances, like it was at 3 o'clock, it was sitting here. And then I think that was when we gave it the first look at about 3, and you could have played the bounce. But it's not any bigger since then, probably why it's not exactly extending this move. 5 million when you were expecting much bigger than that is a disappointment. And it's the only thing here on this locator that's of any size that matters, like Enbridge, CVX. I mean, CVX, that's part of the Hess thing, so there's some unwinding that has to go along with that. That's probably why it's a sell imbalance. But yeah, just Block will be on my mind as it's going into the S&P 500. But 5 million shares is not going to cut it, as far as I'm concerned. Joby, high of the day, JP Suede. Joby having another one. Ooh, Joby, this is...
He's been running for multiple weeks.
I know, I say this every single time I see a chart like this, where it's like, it's down 0.1, or almost 1%, 0.9 I should say, but it's breaking out. there is a distinct difference between how the stock has performed in terms of looking at the chart and where the momentum has been versus the percent that it's up or down on the day. So even if you took it from this from the open, it's actually flat. But if you looked at the majority of the session, it's been buying back up and holding trend higher. So the percentage isn't going to tell you anything. You've got to look at the minutia. And Joby has been on one where this is a pullback in Joby. It's been up and it's been trending higher. It got a little bit extended, as you can see, had a turnaround at 18 bucks. And after that turnaround day, it's been buying back up. I think the real test is going to be when it tries to break out some of these prior resistances on the way to 18. If it fails that, you could see a continuation to the downside, but so far so good, sort of regaining almost positivity here. And old dog, we are seeing Webull. Webull is absolutely fantastic, 12% to the upside. I don't have to tell you anyone that's long underneath the 11. Candidly, I think both Sean and I got this. I got it. You got it like a day later or something at around the same price, like in the 1040 to 1070 range in front of the SPAC price. It's just got 17 to go. You've got big time overhead resistance on Webull on this move, right to 16.6. There's so much of me that would, like, you seen this chart? That is screaming, look for the reversion at this point.
Oh boy, yeah, but that's coming into it going into the close, right? What time frame is that?
This is a 15-minute going into the close. So
Ooh.
it's a bit of a higher time frame. This is what it looks like. On the 3-minute chart, you'd probably already be in this, playing it. Actually, no, it hasn't. On a 3-minute chart, it's still on trend since it broke out from about 1590. It's still holding on to that trend line. Did Bull just do another offering, diluting shares again? They did. There was a recent offering on Webull where they diluted shares again. And the reaction, and we've talked about this before, when you're playing momentum, fundamentally, what happens when you dilute? Stock should go down. But if the market's reaction is to buy it back up when it gaps down, then that is positive momentum. It doesn't necessarily, I get it, longer term, you don't want constant dilution. Of course you don't, C. Mullen. But when the market's reaction is to buy it back up, that's still short-term bullish. And in this particular case, I think the swing is still valid. Candidly, I did sell a portion of my swing in front of 16 last week. It was the end of, at the time, it looked really, really bad too, because it continued to go to 17. But it was when everything was selling off, that was the day at the end of crypto week that I'm like, I'm going to take some profit on this trade and then hold on to the rest. So I'm still holding over 80% of my swing trade in Webull. Even though they had the offering, I still think it's very, very valid. Momentum is still with you on that play.
Yeah, this momentum on GM coming in now, it seems going into the last half hour, finally broke that 49.08 day low and pushing a little bit lower, 49s now. So yeah, failure to follow through of 50 definitely showing up and becoming a little bit more convincing as we push into the end of the day. There is some aggressive sells into the bid. I just saw a 21,000 share order hit below the bid on a MEMEX. So that's always fun to see. Members exchange. Definitely would like to be a member of that. It's funny. There's do you know the story of about the hoo-hoo tape?
The what?
The hoo-hoo tape. Okay, I'll tell you this. I thought you might have heard the story of the hoo-hoo tape, but yeah, we can on that a little bit later.
Oh, so you're just gonna say that now no one gets to know?
No. So H is MIAX on the tape, and then U is MEMEX. Right, so if you throw up a filter for just those two gates, it's funny. It was very early on, coming into the meetings, and I was sharing some of my trades, and I have a bunch of tape open. I have multiple different filters for size, for gates, for a lot of different things. And then people ask me, they're like, "What's that tape right there?" And with a straight face, just dead, I was like, "Yeah, that's my hoo-hoo tape," and I look at gates that provide rebates on that tape. So. It was pretty.
You want to know where
fun.
People are adding big size liquidity.
Yeah, and it's funny. Like Members Exchange actually does a lot more liquidity than most people think, which is interesting. But it's all of them. Arca obviously doing the most. Arca does the most. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. We had that breakdown earlier, right?
I find it's always shifting, so I don't want to, if I don't know the answer to something, it used to be ARCA. If it still is, fine, but I don't actually know if that's 100% true with the hoo-hoo tape. That's not at all what the chat is going to.
What happened?
Well, I mean, you said hoo-hoo. You know what the chat's going to do with that.
Hoo-hoo, H-U.
Yeah, I know, but that's not how
what are they
everyone's
gonna do
going to
with it?
interpret it. I'm just saying.
Oh, like.
We're all very mature around here, aren't we? So Webull is actually pulling back, so you could have taken this mean reversion. This is me casually changing the subject. So you could have taken this reversion, although I am not doing it. I don't necessarily want to be short this bad boy. And Andrew Bake's case, you better believe we are an absolutely fun and mature crowd. JP Swade, this is a family show. How dare anybody have those kinds of thoughts in their heads. But look, pulling back is Webull, straight crazy day to the upside for it. And think of the context that Webull's move comes in here. Like for most stocks that were down, that had that plunge at the open, like you'd be happy if it simply made the V-shaped recovery. Like it is more than double that move. Man, that's a good reversion on Webull. I'm pretty sure we don't even have locates on this thing. I don't think I could have. Yeah, we don't. I would have put, by the way.
Do we need locates for that? I thought we did.
Yeah. So just so you know, I would have, in order to make this trade, I would have had to go into Metro, process the pay for shorts, which at this time of day, past 3:30, I don't usually do. Either I already have the shorts for the stock or the boros to be able to go short, and I only half like that trade anyway. So, like, yes, it would have worked, and if you had free locates, you could have been like Johnny on the spot and really quick grabbing that trade on Bull. And even then, what's it giving you? 20 pennies, risking 10? It's not bad. Not bad for a mean revert trade. Those have been the best this afternoon, or in the afternoons. Yesterday you had it with a much better one with Open, and here you got it with Webull. Let's take care of a little something with one of our favorite platforms.
Sure, so that is eSignal, guys. So traders, listen up. First month is free. That's right. We are waiving fees. Trade smarter, not harder, and upgrade to Elite. Analyze, strategize, capitalize. Our platform, it's everything. Infinite data, instant trading, lightning fast market insights, game-changing charts, predict with backtesting, reliable real-time data, global markets at your fingertips, all in one platform. Don't miss out. Execute your best trades now. Ready to elevate your trading? Scan the QR code or check the link in the description of our friends eSignal, our friends at eSignal. Yeah, no, I'm watching the rest of this market. It seems like Nasdaq is not really going to have it there. It's still consolidating. It got about a 50, maybe even a little bit more, 50-60% reversion of that of the leg that we had coming quadunk into the open today. But 100% reversion on the ES. That's pretty nice. So some of this basket catching a little bit of a bid. And right away, I want to take a look at some of my select sector fund ETFs. Those are your XLs. So on the day today, you know what, I can just probably pull this in right here. So this is kind of this is something that I watch, one of the baskets that I watch. So I'm going to pull this in. Hey, yo. So we got the XLF. We got the XLK, E, B, Y, P, U, and I think this is I, yeah, industrial. So industrials, utilities, consumer discretionary. I always forget what some of the XLs. So XLY is, yeah, sorry, XLY is consumer discretionary, and XLP is staples. That's what it is. And then XLV healthcare, that's definitely up on the day, distinctly different. Staples are up on the day, utilities up on the day, industrials gapping down but catching a bit of a bid. So distinctly different from some of that XLK that we saw. Tech selling off a little bit, a lot of chop on the financials. We saw that financials were getting a bit of a run with the banks being pretty strong as well. Earnings, earlier on earnings season, I think banks sold off initially. I remember that, but finally by like day 2 or day 3 of since the first bank earnings, XLF finally caught a bid, and we started seeing a little bit of a different sentiment there. SPY printing some fresh highs on the day as of right now, Neil. So it seems like we are poised for some higher pushes. With the last 20 minutes remaining, oh boy, I want to know what you guys have been trading. Tesla actually made it all the way back up and coming right back in, and you're saying, oh boy.
HIMS is going nuts. But before we get to HIMS, and I want to show you guys the chart, block now up to 10 million. The imbalance just doubled. So when I saw that, I just nibbled in. I just want to be involved. If it ends up coming out in the double digits, like 15 or 20, I think you'll get a nice initial spike. I'm just going to show you guys the chart because I do want to go to HIMS for everybody because that's going ham. So I just kind of jumped in front of the 79 level. As long as we hold this higher low and this is going to be double digits, then I'm going to like it. I do have a stop in case it somehow magically turns and comes out of sell imbalance in 10 minutes or so. But let's go up to Adara, and then we'll talk about HIMS on the way back.
We're just getting some more details here from senior U.S. administration officials on that Indonesia tariff agreement. Apparently, what's happening here is even though the actual tariff rate is going to be, I believe, around 19%, I just clarified, it's going to be around 19%, but these transshipped goods will be subject to a 40% tariff fee. This is the exact same situation that's happening with Vietnam. So this is now, at least as far as we know of, the second tariff deal that explicitly includes a 40% transshipping tariff in addition to whatever tariff rate that is granted to the original country or the country involved. Also, the senior U.S. administration official apparently noting that the U.S. will be monitoring these countries, or I guess in this case, again, specifically Indonesia, for non-compliance, and they're prepared to take action if necessary. So they're taking these tariffs and these trade agreements very seriously. Back to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Whoops. No.
Thank you very much, Dara.
That's how every single time.
But the presidential seal.
That's the dance. Obi just asked me what HIMS short float was, so I looked it up. 38% is the short float on HIMS. So that means when it does this, it's kind of squeezing. No question about it. A little bit of a squeeze action happening on HIMS. Still rocking with this seller at 52, though. So hopefully tomorrow, we're waiting for you. Once you can break away from that 52, look, they had their dump. They had their dump when Novo pulled away from them, essentially, and it's been trying to recover ever since. So 52 is the big level. I think it's at least, whether we get there today, I think tomorrow is a maybe on that level, and then certainly I'd almost feel better in the back half of the week breaking it, because I'd rather it consolidate off of that level more than anything else. Just looking over, oh no, we just went down to 5 million. All right, I'm getting out. See that on XYZ? I said I would nibble in if it grew, but if it doesn't, if it goes down, we're right out. So I was trading this before off the volume weighted average price, but this is purely based on the imbalance locator. So when I see this go from 10 million to buy to 5 million to buy, forget it. I can wait till 350 to see what happens here. At the end of the day, it's just supposed to be a massive buy. 5 million is nowhere near what we were expecting in total buy side as a block is being added to the S&P 500. That's the news. Effective tomorrow morning, meaning that's a buy imbalance would come in on the locator here today. Jojo in the chat. Why is Palantir weaker than the market? Heyday over. This is another one of those. Okay, so Palantir is down more than the overall market, 1.8%. But if you look at the actual chart,
Did the same thing.
if anything, it's done the same thing, and its recovery is slightly better off the lows. So what you have is, whoops, sorry, I just want to get this chart back. What you have is a situation where Palantir, fine, we know it's going to have bigger percentage moves to the overall market, but it's still loosely following. Like it is just stair-stepping. You're just going to get more oomph out of it. And that's going to be true of anything that is this ridiculously parabolic strong. It's just, there's no way. If the market has, if all tech has a weak day and AI has a weak day, Palantir is almost certainly going to have a weaker one. That's just how it's going to work. The way I see it, what are we panicking about? I think you're concerned with Palantir when it breaks this channel that it's in. Once it's broken this channel, then we can be worried about Palantir doing some scary things to the downside. Until that happens, respect it. It's been working, whether you've been playing it off the top or the bottom. Even shorting in front of the top seems to be working out here, and it's bounced off 145. So at that point, I think we get a little bit more concerned if we lose 140 and the 50-period moving average on the daily. So at the end of the day, you know volatile stocks like this are always going to have bigger percentage moves, but overall, it's still following the market. I'd be more concerned if the market chart was straight up and Palantir had that same pattern down, then you're a little bit more concerned. But when its chart pattern is basically the same thing as the Nasdaq, you understand the percentages are going to be a little bit different. That's just the nature of, you don't get winners like Palantir if that's not true. Think of it that way.
That's true, and don't forget what the president has told us. Don't be a panicking. Right, so I don't know if you guys saw. He also told us to buy at seemingly the most interesting time at the bottoms. Was it that April low? Right, that was him basically being like, okay, buy. Interestingly enough, but regardless, yeah, you got to remember that Palantir has a beta of 2.6 last time we checked. 2.6. It was in and around there, 2.59. 2.59 when we checked last. I'm sure it's changing around a little bit there, but yeah, it just means that it's slightly a little bit more volatile than the market, but yeah, it does move in line with it as well. So yeah, definitely got to watch out for that beta and see how correlated it is to the market. But even then, at the same time, if you see that it's in line with the market with respect to the price action that it's doing, then yeah, it's not necessarily weak or strong relative to the market. The chart literally looks the same as the Nasdaq. Right, sure, it doesn't. If you're comparing it to the SPY, I can understand that you're saying that, when compared to the SPY, Palantir does look weak. Yes, but look at where it stands in terms of the constituents of the Nasdaq, which is tech heavy, versus the S&P 500, which might be diversified a little bit better, right? A little bit, just a little bit better. But yeah, no, that's something to consider. Palantir, being very much a tech stock, looks like the tech futures. Right? So it is not necessarily relatively weak or strong. I would say it's relatively in line with what the market's doing. Just looking at the chart, you can just eyeball it and be like, all right, this has done exactly what the market's doing on the day today. So you got to ask yourself, was it a better trade on Palantir or was it a better trade on the Nasdaq? Right?
It's a better trade on Webull.
Probably.
15% to the upside. The Bulls are winning this party.
Squeezing.
For sure. That's the goal. Earlier today, I made the mistake of hitting the wrong bull button and hit that ridiculous one where we're riding the sombrero. But that's the good one, the high quality. 15%. I'm telling you, like, it's just pure, this is a momentum play. This is pure squeeze-ish action. There's a better look at the daily chart, everybody. Still has to chew through that 17. Somebody's following it up. Following it a little bit on the bid there at 1676. Let me just throw by the time.
Hold up, dude.
I don't think it's going to halt.
There's an ARCA buyer.
There's a buyer right there.
ARCA buyer 76.
There's a buyer on ARCA walking this stock up. So if you are in this, just be wary if this guy stops following the bid or gets filled. You could get a bit of a pullback. It's pretty extended here into the afternoon. Like, it's getting pretty parabolic. I would suspect there's going to be some profit taking. 17, obviously a very, very big level. 2 minutes to go till the imbalances come out. Go Webull. Get it there.
Thank you, Neil. We have Microsoft almost at day. Actually, this is breaking in today's lows. I'm just seeing this headline come through on X. I'm waiting for more context, but we're doing regardless. Microsoft apparently offering some salespeople extra pay after layoffs. So really bizarre headline. If I find out any more details, of course, I will do a deep dive and let you know. Also worth noting, keep an eye on these banks. Apparently, we currently have some CFOs of these major banks speaking at that Fed conference from earlier today. It's been going on all day. They're just talking about deposits. I have it in my ear, nothing huge, but if you're in bank stocks, just be aware. Back to you.
Oh, it is Bulls party, and we're just all living in it right now. Living, 17 going. It's still the strongest stock. Let me just quickly double check. Oh, now blocks back to 10 million again. So it went 5 million to 10 million to 5 million imbalance. 90 seconds to go till the imbalance is hit.
Boy.
Clearly, this is expected to be the biggest one. It's going into the S&P 500 is obviously a big deal, but I'm going to suspect it won't be as crazy. Like when Palantir went in, that was much bigger of a deal than I think Block is going to be. And I know everyone's not everyone. A lot of people are disappointed that Hood didn't get in. Their time will come. It's just, once again, you're waiting and waiting and waiting. So I'm going to keep eyeballs high bulls on Webull here as it tries to climb to that $17 level. Good looking name, no questions asked. But with only seconds to go till the imbalances come out there, I don't really see any obvious trades outside of, you could be looking at a reversion potentially in Webull, and disappointing so far for XYZ. And Ben A, Open is a Nasdaq stock, so we're not going to see the imbalances till 350. We get the early look on New York symbols. We can see what it's looking like before the imbalances come out, but only on New York symbols. Nasdaq, there is no early look. If you see Nasdaq here, it's because that's from the morning on NCNA. We'll see in about 15 seconds, I can tell you if there's an imbalance on Open. There was none yesterday when it did 1.8 billion shares, or if there was one, it was tiny. And I would suspect more of the same here today. So just a couple seconds and we'll get these imbalances and let you know whether block is a disappointment or not.
Yeah, no, Neil, I think you said it right there.
Yeah,
oh
9
boy, 9 million.
So it was 10 million expected.
Boom.
And then it goes 9 million, 6 back up to 10. So I'd say a little bit disappointing. I wanted it to come out bigger than the double digits it was showing. We're expecting as much as like 70 or 80. So I wanted it to at least be in 15, 20 range. A lot of it's going to be paired. The paired volume is already 40 million shares paired off. So the actual open interest is 48 million shares in block, but most of it has been paired off. It's the only big name out here. I don't even know what is ENVXW?
Yeah, I'm just about to look that up, Neil. I was like, what is going on here?
ENVXW?
ENVXW.
Innovix Corporation warrants. How do the warrants have a 1.4 million sell imbalance?
Oh boy, it is SPAC season.
Okay, that's just a little bit weird. Apple's got a small buy and balance of 800,000. That's pretty much nothing, everybody. Open does have a buy and balance, but 600,000 shares on the buy for Open. It's done, and it just crossed $1 billion again. So 600,000 to buy on a stock that's done $1 billion. Open is not going to move. And as you can see here, you get this back. It has moved absolutely nothing. So big disappointment if you were looking for an imbalance. It was a short all day long on Open, really. You could have just held that short the entirety of the day on Open without ever
had some of the best prices off the Open as well. Yeah, we had pretty much the same price. So that was relatively in and around that $4 area. Definitely the best prices to get in. But no, I like what you said earlier. A lot of people disappointed that Hood didn't get into the S&P 500, and also a lot of people disappointed that they didn't get into Hood as well. So you know, it kind of you know, it's a give and take. But yeah, we'll see what we have in store. A little bit of a squeeze. We had that chaser on 1676s, but he still hasn't come back just yet, but holding quite strongly here on Webull. Market just consolidating sideways, nothing too crazy. We kind of made those legs earlier on during the midday session, I would say. When is this a strong push all the way back up towards highs? Yeah, around 115-ish. So coming into the midday session, SPY came all the way back up to opening range highs, and then we've just been pretty much sideways since then. This XYZ, nothing too crazy, but it seems like the buyers are getting a little blocked here, even though it's a buy imbalance. We're selling off. Some strong selling coming into XYZ. I'm going to continue watching that one as well going into the close. But yeah, nothing else crazy that I'm seeing. Maybe that ENVXW, but like I said, it's traded 2 million shares on the day. It costs just under $6. It's about 12 million notional. I'm probably not even going to touch that.
Go figure. CVX is only a few 100,000 to sell. It was just 500,000. Now CVX is gone. So I don't even see CVX anymore. It was 500,000 sell, and this is the one that was falling. So you're expecting Block to do some big things, and it looks like Chevron wrapping up that deal with Hess. That's sort of the reason why it'll be on the locator, because it was a significant stock portion in that deal. I don't even see it on here anymore to the sell side.
CVX is up there.
NVIDIA is a small 600,000 sell. Marvell is a sell of 600,000. But CVX was before the imbalances came out, it was 2 million sell. It then came out smaller, and it still dropped. So you never really know how these are going to react for sure. But let's be real. Yesterday it was open. This morning it was KSS. This afternoon it's been Webull for sure. And it's still at the high. Webull is refusing to pull back. It gets to about 69. And this stock doesn't want any part of a pullback.
Yeah.
I will say this though. What have we seen time and time again, Obi, when a name is added to the index? Block,
A bid?
there's your run up, there's your gap up, there is your lack of breakout, there's resistance above 80. Now that it's into the index, my first thought is if we're not through $80 tomorrow, I'm thinking sell the news on block. So it goes in, you get the gap up, you don't break out any higher. I'm going to be looking for a reversion. It was an inside day on block. It's been an inside move since we got the announcement. Now that it's in, if it couldn't push through 80 on the news, are we going to push through 80 after it? Unless something spectacular is happening, I'm going to just simply write down block 80 fade. And if we're under it, I'm looking short. And if we're over it, then I'm not.
Yeah. I like the anchored view up as well. Just like, where is everyone sitting from that gap up day? I want to know when they're all offside. And yeah, that could definitely add strong confluence to the trade as well, right? It doesn't necessarily mean executing on the line. It's just an arbitrary, well, it's not arbitrary, but it's a line. It's an indicator, but it could definitely give strong confluence for the trade idea. Still pushing up a little bit higher here is bull. No real chaser there that we saw earlier, so that's interesting. Maybe Buddy's going to show up after the close. Going to keep an eye on it. Oh, Lucid is now on here as well on the Nasdaq leaderboard. So let's take a quick look at LCID and see what that one is up to. Let's go to a 1 minute chart right here. So you see if there's any sort of a push on that. Nothing. 315 high a day. And Neil, guess what? You see that low a day? See that low a day? Yeah. So it seems like that 280 bid is still there on Lucid.
Is still there.
Sure, you go down to 70s, but like that's like 5 pennies from prior day, maybe even 10 pennies. But look at where we are now. 313s back to the high of the range. I have an anchored VWAP here. Let's go to a higher time frame. Anchored VWAP from this gap up on Lucid. You see we attempt to break down yesterday. Some more lower prices in the pre-market coming all the way down into 271s, but recovering pretty decently back into that anchored VWAP in this consolidation zone. So Lucid could be interesting going forward. And wow, there goes GM finally breaking through even more of its day lows, some fresh day lows coming in on GM. Yeah, sometimes certain things I'm just like, all right, if you're still in the money, just take it as far into the close as possible. And I think I did well just putting that rep in and taking it into 50. But at the same time, it's like if I'm just leaving a trail on, just leave the whole thing for the close.
Put it into the auction.
Yeah, I could just throw it in the auction. I think that's a good habit to get into, especially if I'm looking to size up in the future.
Do that.
Yeah.
If there was a trade that when he was trading equity, if he found something and it was still valid and you're into the last like half an hour,
you just
like unless the imbalance comes out the other way, it's like there's no reason to get out. Just get out at the close, and it's not giving you a signal. With only about 2.5 minutes to go, I can tell everybody XYZ paired off all the way down to 4 million. It's continuing to pair off, but hey, we got Texas Instruments after the close reporting. But we also have a special, exciting turn of events. It's Tuesday, so I got to coach my daughter's baseball. That means you get Joey options on the Market Recap Show with Adara. You know it's going to be an absolute banger. TXN on the earnings. A recap that's going to give you a lot of movement, whether it was Coles going absolutely ridiculous, crazy in the morning, bull in the afternoon. Great run. You know what? A name that we didn't even talk. 2 minutes to go. Snapchat had a big day, 5% to the upside. This trended all day long. There's so many things you could look at. This actually looks great on a daily chart. Look at it, hold that 200 period moving average. Go Bill says, look at the move back in CVX. All right, I will look. Oh, there's a nice bounce. But it wasn't, if it was a big sell imbalance that flipped, then you take the long. But it wasn't even a big sell imbalance. It just kind of small sell imbalance flipped, and the reversion still worked out there for CVX. But hey, opportunities abound when it comes to the end of the day. Small move to the upside on block. It's going to, here, I'll show you the black chart with a minute to go.
Oh my God.
It's not even breaking out the high. And as I said, that imbalance is pairing off. So it might have a chance to push into the top, but no breakout past $80 on block, which I think is a little bit of a disappointment. The big move this afternoon was definitely in Webull. Bitcoin tried 120K.
Really?
And couldn't go. Goes all the way back in. It did a big volume run to break it through 120,000. We're right back down to 119. Still, we'll take that. I mean, when we're sitting for in the 90K range for so long, you'd be happy to be consolidating the 120 level in Bitcoin. I know I have no problem with it. I'll take it for sure. And yeah, dangerous red day for LMT. This is
Lockheed Martin.
Lockheed is a nasty looking earnings name here today. Lost to 420, down 11%. I know this is one that we'll discuss in the aftermarket show by Adara for a fact, for obvious reasons. But you know what time it is, everybody. I don't have to hit a key because it's going to be automatic right in here. With just over 10 seconds to go, let's get over to the closing bell. Everybody, with only 10 seconds, it's been an absolutely crazy and wild day. Led by Bull upside, Lockheed downside, ring it, Adara.
Boom.
And as I said, I got to give a big shout out to Joe, of course, filling in for myself tonight in the aftermarket show. Big shout out to you filling in for Sean. Sean's back from vacation in Boston tomorrow. So thank you, Obi, for filling in. Thank you, Willis Addison, for the super chat. CoreWeave calls paid you well today. CoreWeave with a nice rally. Where'd it close? CoreWeave for you. Oh, yeah, it got right up to that. Yeah. Hey, that continued. That reversion kind of continued. 3.5% to the upside on CoreWeave. Looks like it's catching a bit of a bid. Maybe it can go squeezing again, everybody. That's what it's all about. Just, hey, as long as you bag those wins, you can make money in either direction. As Cole definitely showed everybody in the pre-market, everyone won long, and then after that, pretty much everybody won to the south side. But, hey, we got a lot to discuss, and the best thing about this show is that, in truth, it's never really over. Because when you're done, you're preparing for the next day. But right now, you don't have to do anything. You can sit back, relax. Don't recline too far because you want to make sure you have some good posture in there. And then get right on over because your Beta Pro Market Recap show starts right now. Joe and Adara, get them.
See you guys. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the afternoon market recap here. I'm joining Adara here. This is her big desk on the recap show. But a lot to talk about, guys. We got TXN coming up momentarily, and we're looking at about a 4.9 expected move here. So if we can pull up my screen, we can see that one. And here it is. Brought to you by Beta Pro. So here it is, guys. We're looking at a high of around $225 and a low of about $204.33. Adara, how are you and how was your day?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm all right. I can't complain.
Yeah, nice. I mean, we're going to wait here for TXN earnings. I have them, actually. They came out. So TXN, Q2 revenue, $4.45 billion here versus $4.36 billion. Expected Texas Instruments Q2 operating profit, $1.56 billion versus $1.47 billion expected. Q2 EPS, $1.41 versus $1.35 expected. So there really isn't anything here to suggest this move to the downside. We're going to have to wait and find out there. But yeah, keep an eye here in TXN earnings. What a drop here, Joe.
Absolutely. Well, it's not displayed on mine for some reason. So if we can pull up Adara's chart, but we're getting a move to the downside apparently. See, mine's frozen, so I think Adara's is slightly more accurate than mine. So we got hers up on the 3-minute chart, and you're saying it's a move to the downside.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see what's going on and why I don't necessarily have that. So we'll go to a different time frame to see if it has been accounted for here, but it doesn't seem to be the case. All right, so there it is. We're trading around 197 here, 36. Adara, is that going to be south of our expected move to the downside? We have a low of approximately 204. So we have exceeded that expected move, guys. So some big time stuff. We'll get into it later for the options traders to see how we can benefit from a move that beats the expected one.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what's happening here. It looks like Q3 gap earnings here, $1.36 to $1.60 per share versus $1.48 expected. The lower end of that is below estimate. Sales here, $4.45 billion to $4.8 billion, much like the EPS estimate. The lower end of the sales guidance for Q3 is going to be below estimate. So the higher end here, above estimates, lower end below. Basically mid-range guidance, but like I said, they did beat across the board. So who else are we waiting for? We're going to be getting ENPH at 405. I'll pull up that chart for you guys to be prepared because these are going to come in about a minute. Also at 405, COF And then we're going to be Capital One. And last but not least, ISRG. We're going to start here with ENPHase, the most closely watched. We'll move on. And it looks like ISRG is already moving. So let's see what's happening here with Intuitive Surgical. Intuitive Surgical, I was seeing an expected move here of 6.2%. And I know one thing that you've talked about that I know Danielle Shea, who used to come on our show, did options talk about. If you have these things bigger than the expected move, that usually implies it'll make a bigger move during the day, right? Also, ISRG just popped.
So yeah, so essentially, Daniel Shea brought this to us, and we obviously do some forward looking as well too. So when an underlying asset exceeds that expected move, what you want to look for the following session, and obviously in trading nothing is guaranteed, is but a continuation in the direction in which the expected move was exceeded. So that's going to be really big. I got some more information here on TXN here. Texas Instruments revenue increased 9% sequentially, led by the continued board recovery in industrial, and 16% from the same quarter a year ago. So there's some more numbers for you on TXN, guys, and still moving to the downside, it seems.
Yeah, so I'll mention, I don't have any other reports here to talk about, so we'll just go over these numbers again. 141 for EPS versus 133 expected. Sales 4.48 billion versus 4.329 billion expected, but the lower end of both of their guidance ranges for Q3, so GAAP EPS and sales, both missing estimates. It seems to be this guidance that is the issue for TXN, because the numbers, as Joe just alluded to there, certainly do not seem to be. ENPH dumping, says Dylan Plays. Yeah, ENPH down, ISRG up. I wish I had either of their earnings reports, but unfortunately I do not. I'm going to see if I can refresh my Benzinga. I don't see either of these. But as I said, we're going to get you guys ENPH first. ENPHase definitely the more closely watched of these earnings names. ENPHase actually getting a price target decrease today ahead of the report. I have Capital One earnings first, so we'll just start with those. They are to the downside here, Joe. They provided a Q2 revenue miss, $12.49 billion versus $12.7 billion expected. Net losses here of $4.28 billion. It looks like here we have losses per share of $8.58. I'm sure there's some adjusted number, but either way, this does not sound pretty. Bad look there for COF. I also have ISRG out now. Again, still no ENPHase. I do apologize, but I will let you guys know when I have that. ISRG, initial move to the upside, now peaking to the downside. Q2 adjusted earnings of $2.19 per share, above estimates of $1.92. Revenue $2.44 billion versus $2.35 billion expected. So I mean, not a bad look here for ISRG, but again, the numbers to the downside. We're still waiting for ENPHase. I do not have them yet. I do apologize.
Yeah, no worries, guys. Here, let's take a look at ENPHase here momentarily. We are moving to the top side. 45.92.
I have ENPHase.
Okay, perfect. We'll take a step back. We'll go to Adair in 1 second. 4% expected move here on Capital One Financial. So let's see if we can move outside of this, guys. But yeah, there you go. Some numbers on ENPHase.
Yeah, here's ENPH. They're beating estimates here with their Q2 adjusted earnings per share, 69 cents versus 62 expected. Revenues, 363.2 million versus 359.6 million. So double beat. Adjusted net income 89.9 million versus estimates of 84.1 million. So this is a beat across the board. Pegasystems also reported, I only mentioned them because they're one of Dan Ives' other top AI plays that he mentioned earlier this year. They did beat estimates. Adjusted earnings of 28 cents per share versus 23 expected. Revenue 384.5 mil versus 362.5 mil expected. That is a double beat. Adjusted net income also beating estimates. So ENPH here is the only thing that's actually strong off of earnings, even though none of these numbers were necessarily weak.
Yeah, absolutely, Darren. Here we go. We got some expected move on ENPH, guys, ENPHase Energy. So that is going to be approximately 11.4%, with a high of around 47.36 and a low of around 37.64. Now, guys, this is really important to note. And with certain underlyings, we know with options that not everything and not every underlying asset is very liquid. But when we have more liquid stocks and more liquid options contracts in the likes of NVDA, Google, Tesla, etc., what we want to be able to identify is large put walls and large call walls. This can give us a big time gauge in where the stock might be attracted to and some possible levels of rejection, all right? So we can see that the expected move is 11.4% here on ENPHase with a high of 47.36. Well, where did we top out approximately at? 46.28. And what does that lead you to? It says, okay, pull up your options chain. Make sure you have open interest selected on your columns where you're going to find the Greeks, the volume, etc., and then gauge that and then correlate that with how the stock is moving. Adara, bring us the news.
Yeah, so I was wondering here. Thank you. Someone in the chat mentioned the CEG, so thank you to Jake Robert Snake for bringing that up. Here is CEG. All of these, I guess, nuclear kind of names moving. So CEG, Talon, that'd be TLN, VST, Vistra, and GEV, GE Vernova. Bloomberg reporting that the biggest U.S. grid is setting a capacity price at record $329.17 a milliwatt per day. So, or megawatt, sorry, I believe. So good look there for CEG. CEG's really been, I mean, I think if we could hold above that 330, that'd be a great look for CEG just off the top of my head. VST, great look as well. GEV, let's pull up this one. And then TLN, actually, GEV is not doing much. TLN just ran on its own catalyst recently, and they're poised to run again. I will say, as someone who trades some of these names pretty frequently, mostly CEG, just because of the spread, these, when they get going, they can really, really get going. Like they can just rally all day, so just be very aware of that. Also, the information reporting, sorry there, Joe, just one last thing here.
Worries.
The information reporting that Meta has hired 3 Google AI researchers. So yeah, Meta's just gonna keep buying people until, or not buying people, paying for the large salary, I shouldn't have worded it like that, paying for the large salaries of people till the cows come home, it seems like. So there we go, META.
Well, essentially, that's what they're purchasing talent. They're taking talent from one company. We've seen this on multiple occasions, and they're bringing them over. So that's fair enough. They're buying them out, and they're just trying to make a full-on stack team. And we were talking a little bit about it during the midday. Is there going to be a winner in this race? Not necessarily, maybe not. But people can lead. And what Mark Zuckerberg is doing is acquiring Alexander Wang from Scale AI and some other big-time names. Watch out for what Mark Zuck's doing, because he's not going to be spending this type of capital without expecting a return on investment, that's for sure.
Well, that's where I get worried, though, because then when you're spending like $100 million on the AI researcher from Apple and then his 2 people who work under him, I start to wonder, because this has not necessarily been a really great winning strategy in terms of Apple and making AI that people enjoy. Sorry about that. But also, Big Smile, thank you very much for the $1.99 super chat, Big Smile. Driving those Teslas just got more expensive. Yeah, this energy is certainly going to be something on watch here. I mean, if you were driving TSLA to the upside other than off the open, you did pretty well. This is a nice little uptrend. I'm sure, I know you two have your little bet there, the rest of Tesla price that you and Big Smile.
Big Smile, yeah, he's already beat me on that one, so that one's long and done. We'll find something else to bet on, because I gotta switch things up on you, Mr. Big Kyle, because we can't be calling me Joey Smalls all the time. We got to figure out some new names here. That's what we got going on in there. But sorry, ISRG here, Intuitive Surgical. We'll take a step back and see what we got going on for the expected move. You have the numbers for ISRG?
Yeah, I brought them out earlier. I'm just going to mention this VICR Vicor, because people were mentioning this. Vicor Q2 earnings of 91 cents per share versus 18 expected, 141.046 million here for sales versus 96.43 million expected. So these are massive beats, as you can see. Massive move up for VICR. So guys, I just want to let you know we already went over ENPH, ISRG, and COF and TXN for people asking. These are ones we went over. That being said, Marlon B just asking about TXN, so I will go over TXN one more time here, but I just want to let you guys know we did cover all of these right around when they came out, and I have no problem going over things again when we have a moment. So TXN here, the guidance seemed to be the issue. I cannot pull it up. There we go. So Q3 gap earnings here, they're guiding between $1.36 per share to $1.60 per share versus $1.48 expected. They're guiding sales here, 4.45 bill to 4.8 bill versus 4.533 bill expected. So both of these here, the lower end of the guide is missing estimates. TXN, though, did report a double beat. All of that said, Alex L here in the chat saying VICR beat includes patent settlement. Thank you for telling me. Lately, for some reason, I haven't been able to see the whole reports on Benzinga, so I usually like to read through those. I haven't been able to do so as much lately, but thank you very much there for that context. Last but not least, I really quickly want to mention this, if you don't mind, Joe.
No, not at all.
DNUT, Donut here, Farm Trader talking about this one. It's funny, someone else in the chat, I believe it was Carney, was asking about DNUT, and I didn't have anything then, but this move obviously a lot sharper here for DNUT. This seems like some kind of catalyst. I don't have anything on it yet. On Benzinga, I'm going to check X right now. Let's find out what happens next, because I want to be able to give you guys all of that coverage, all that good stuff. Chip Diamond here is a super chat for you. I'll let you read that in a second. Okay. But I don't have anything here for DNUT except for lots and lots of social media attention. Keep in mind, when one stock squeezes, open door, a lot of the other ones tend to follow. They open the door, shall we say, for more squeeze opportunities. And I think Donut just stumbled through there. Krispy Kreme. I think these shorts are getting pretty crisp right now. If you were short this stock, 28% short float. So this looks like it could be a KSS, an OPEN, and just continuing that tradition of these heavily shorted stocks. Try to rip higher now.
Absolutely, guys. So with TXN coming out, what do we want to do? We obviously want to take a look at some sympathy plays as well. And you go and take a look at your NVDA and your AMD charts, and they're taking a little bit of a move to the downside. So we're going to continue to monitor these, and maybe we might continue in all of this semi space and have another red day on the session. So, or I guess NVDA was slightly green on the day. So some positive things coming out there. Let me double check. I was not keeping my eyes out on some of these semis. So still slightly red after that open. We had that massive flush, about 45 minutes or half an hour of selling in the likes of AMD. One of the weaker semis here in NVDA. We'll pull it up one more time. So it couldn't quite recover back to opening price, all right? So we'll keep that in mind. Potential sympathy play here with NVDA and AMD. Now I do believe that we have some super chats, Adara, that is going to be coming from our friend Chip Diamond. $2 super chat. Thank you for that, my friend. Joseph looking like Escobar's Bitcoin advisor. All right, I'll take that if it pays well, that's for sure. So we'll see. I'll have to go have a talk with Pablo, but I guess rest in peace.
Yeah, but even if it pays well, is that money that you can even like claim on your taxes?
Yeah, could I claim it? That's the thing.
That money is not claimed.
Everything would be cash. You got to pay everything straight up cash. There's no claiming there.
I would even be like checking out the cash. I'm like, I don't know.
You'd be thumbing through it to make sure there wasn't any tracking.
I'd be making sure it was like real. That'd be my big issue too.
You think Pablo's money would be?
I mean, I'm not sure. I don't want to be associated with any of that nonsense.
That's fair. We don't want to be associated with any of that stuff, guys. We're going to take a step back and take a look at ISRG, Intuitive Surgical. We're just going to go over this expected move, and then we're going to touch on a couple options things here as well. I'll go through this thoroughly when I'm on the show, and we have some big time earnings reports like in the likes of TXM. Now, for all those individuals who decided to sway from shares in earnings and decide to trade options contracts, well, when you've exceeded your expected move, what can we do to lock in profits? I've talked about this quite often. But, so for example, we're going to go in the favor in which TXN had moved after the report. It is to the downside. Well, guess what? For all the new or even veteran option shares, you guys know that we cannot close our contracts after the bell. So how do we lock in our price? All right, well, here's a little trick. So what happens, we get this move, our contracts are well in the money, we own some puts on TXN, but I want to lock in this fixed price at the lows. Well, what am I going to have to do? I'm going to have to buy shares. So you just buy 100 shares or however many contracts you have. You have 10 contracts, you have to buy 1,000 shares, all right? So essentially what's going to happen is when you buy those 1,000 shares and you have those 10 contracts, it's going to pin the value of them just in case it decides to depreciate the contract. Your long shares will now appreciate. And vice versa. You continue to move lower in your contract, the share value will start to turn lower, but that pins your price, so you fix it, you lock in that fixed amount of unrealized gains, because come the previous day open, you have the ability to close everything. You sell those shares and you sell those put contracts because you're essentially long, and you will still have the exact same unrealized amount of profit that you did the night before after the earnings report. So that's a little trick of the trade, something that I learned from a good friend of ours here at the show.
Yeah, pretty dope. You guys definitely let us know if there's any other type of stocks you want to look at or anything like that heading into earnings or otherwise. QS was mentioned yesterday. We can pull that up. I do want to talk about Lockheed Martin a little bit later when we have some time, because that thing moved crazy on earnings, and I suspect it probably has a little bit more in the tank for tomorrow. But QS, the start is crazy. We have this massive gap up here. It's been running for a while. This is June 25th. We gap up. That was, I guess, we open here around $6. Push higher. We make these recent high around $15. Yesterday we close lower. Then today we do this kind of gap down, close higher business. So QS looking pretty good into earnings. Thank you, Dolly, for the kind words. I do my own makeup, so shout out to that. But also GOOGL. Here, let's take a look at Google. This thing apparently netting its largest winning streak since 2010 ahead of earnings. Now, this stock, great push here. This is the daily. Yeah, this is like a crazy little
that
like
181 break was insane. That's insane. I'm so frustrated at myself for not swinging that position, but you can see that there's a clear resistance zone right around that 181 level, I believe, and I didn't take more shares, so I'm kind of kicking myself about that.
Yeah, it always sucks when that happens. Yeah, I think this like tightening of this uptrend though was a really good look. I was actually eyeing this one today to see what we did at that 191. 60s, 191.30s level. So we sold off from it. It is worth noting, like this is a bottoming tail candle, which looks really good from a technical perspective. But the fact that we can't nicely clear 192 looks kind of bad, in my opinion, from a technical perspective. So I think this is going to be a pretty key level, at least in my opinion, for tomorrow. Then we have Kryptonian Nolan. I'm sure you watched the Superman movie, or your name is just a good pun on crypto. But either way, asking how Fluence is looking. Fluence, this double bottom, or this rounded bottom, sorry, is just gorgeous. This almost resembles that Carvana double bottom there from Lowe's. The one bottom is slightly higher here. Double bottom, rounded bottom, what have you. This thing is trying to fill a gap. Now, that gap here is at $12. We're currently around $10.21. I want to see if I can find out what led to that gap to the downside. It is certainly not Liberation Day. So that happened February 10th. I'm going to quickly find out what happened there because I am deeply curious. Then we had a whole bunch of downgrades after that. Oh, worse than expected Q1 earnings. So earnings gap down. Can we fill it? Time will tell, but I think we're really at a place where that could potentially happen here. Joe, for FLNC.
Yeah, exactly. Good luck there, Adair. I'm just reading some of the comments in the chat. Los Polios, double check with your orders because I believe you should be able to place them. I could stand corrected, obviously, but just make sure you're putting in the correct order, and that's going to be day plus overnight. So it's not going to be anything limit marketable or anything along those lines. Once you select day plus overnight, it should allow you to make some exchanges in the pre and the post market. Now, again, I'm only familiar with the brokers that I use. I could be wrong, but in the chat also check me as well. Even if you select the specific order, are you allowed to execute some of your shares, which you should be able to do so. And what else do we got here in the on the chat here? Dara reading through some things. Okay, so they're talking about, okay, never mind, Devis, we're not going over that. We got another $5 super chat here, Dara. Loads of chatter on Twitter about DNUT, a bunch of meme and Chinese traders talking about a 30%, 33% short flow, maybe a deliberate pump to squeeze. Yeah, totally. We were taking a look at DNUT not too long ago and it was moving to the top side.
Yeah, that's usually I find how this happens. Like I've even pointed out the last couple days, both of the last couple days, Joby, I would say Joby's was a less obvious example. Archer's is pretty obvious. Then yesterday there was another stock as well. But lately these companies have been pumping their own stocks on X. Like they're like, oh, the other one was Grab a Gun. Grab a Gun was the one yesterday. So they'll just post exciting stuff and be like, more to come, whatever. And then in the case of Grab a Gun, actually tag their tickers. So really weird stuff here. There's a lot of pumping. Obviously, it's a bit different when it comes from the company, but with DNUT, we're getting meme levels of attention. I want to talk about LMT here as well, because this chart looks decidedly unhealthy. Sellers were certainly taking heed of that 420 level, and when it came in pretty viciously. So, I mean, I'll talk a little bit. I kind of want to talk a little bit about what I did on this because I think this is like an example of, so I don't look at my P&L throughout the day. I'm going to zoom in a bit. I've always said that because I just find I get in my head. So my first trade here, I tried to take this 422 breakdown, push into the low of that 418. Actually didn't work. It did not work. And I took an L on it and I got slipped, so it was a slightly larger L than I wanted. But I'm like, you know what, Adair, just breathe. If something sets up, it sets up. Then we go long off the same level. We got stopped out. We add, we push higher. It breaks the trend line. We get out. Then we get short. Then I benefit from a news catalyst. The point is, and then we took the flat bottom break at the end. So all of this is to say, if technicals set up, it should not matter how you did on this. It should not matter how you traded it yesterday. It should not matter how you traded it earlier today. If you are following your rules, if you are trading it appropriately, you have absolutely no reason to avoid the trade. You are doing yourself a disservice by not getting back in the trade. And I'm going to zoom out here again. The reason I got back in this LMT, this flat bottom break here at that not quite flat bottom, but more or less consolidation break at that 420. Now, at first I was like, oh, well, Adara, you already had the trade on LMT. Why are you trying to get back in? And it honestly, I owe it to myself if it sets up, regardless of the fact that I did well at it earlier. I'm not trading well if I avoid it just because I'm scared to lose profit. And I actually took a couple risk units on this because I thought it deserved it. And
let's break this down.
Let's break it down.
All right. So your initial thesis was short. You then flipped long.
Yes.
But then you reverted back to your initial thesis.
Yes.
Hence why you're stating it would do you a disservice if you didn't go with your initial game plan to start with.
Actually, no. That's actually not what I think. What I'm saying is I went with what the stock told me. Initially, I thought the stock was telling me short. I was wrong. The stock clearly was a flip long, so I listened to that. Then when it became a short again, I listened to that. Like that's, you know what I mean? I don't know if this really answers your question, but that's what I'm saying.
It totally does, and that's what I was getting at. So you were thinking short, then the stock told you like, no, it's a long for now, and then you went back to say, hey, it displayed itself. It gave you the setup that you were looking for, which made you in order to go short once again.
Exactly. Yeah. No, that's a good way of putting it, right? And it's like the thing I'm trying to say too is, if it sets up, if it looks good, ignore any noise in your head, follow your rules, follow your game plan, give it the size it deserves, give it the opportunity it deserves, because stocks who don't have personal vendettas against you, they don't care. If it looks good, take it.
Exactly.
Yeah, thank you. William Knight saying your inner voice seems to have a hoarse voice, Adara. Give it some ginger and honey tea. That's a good one. Yeah, I don't know why I do that deep voice for my internal monologue, but there we go. Chubb earnings, says Austin. Yeah, well, let's get into those CHB. Is that there? Yeah, CHBB or CHB. Let me find the Chubb. CHBB. Thank you. OB. Why can I? No, it's CHUB. Okay. Why am I? Yeah, CB. It's just CB. Look at that.
All right.
Apologies, guys. I will pull up CB. Sorry, that was not on my list initially. They did beat earnings here. Adjusted earnings of $6.14 per share versus $5.96 expected. Sales, 12.394 bill versus, so sales were a miss here, 12.394 versus 12.577 billion. This was actually the secret purchase that Warren Buffett was making last year. Like you were like, what stock is he picking up? It ended up being Chubb. So yeah, I mean, right now, I unfortunately don't have access to the whole report, so I can't see, but sales miss and Q2 earnings beat. Hope that helps, Austin.
Yeah, absolutely. So here, we'll take a look at the expected move here as well, too, guys. So we're looking at approximately, okay, there's no percentage metric here, but a high of around here it is, 4.1% with an IV, an at-the-money IV is, though, keep that in mind, guys. The options market will always price in implied volatility into those contracts. That's why it's really key to understand if you are trading options, that the volatility is going to be priced in, and then day after day, it's slowly going to decay, and it's going to hurt the value of those. But anyways, back to what I was referring to, 4.1% expected move with a high of approximately 290.11 and a low of 267.35 for CB there, Dara.
Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty interesting look. I didn't realize how kind of wild this is intraday. Like, we've got sell-off, rounded kind of reversion thing, sell-off. Push up, then sell off. Push higher, sell off. Like this chart is, I mean, it's kind of an odd one for sure. Let's take a look at the daily, just for myself quickly. We looked at the 3. Yeah, I mean, the daily, this is kind of choppy, as I kind of implied with the intraday action. We're gonna have to wait and see what we get. But CB is not necessarily, I mean, I'm not gonna be here tomorrow, I'll be on vacation, but I don't know if we're gonna be seeing this one be on any people's charts or whatever looks for the day. Speaking of which, we'll actually get Sean back tomorrow, guys. So that'll be exciting as well. If there's any other earnings people want to look at, let me know. I will pull them up for you guys quickly, because that is what we're here to do at Trader TV. But, you know, we talk about Sean's Tomorrow's Trade Today segment that he wanted to do. Joe, what's your Tomorrow's Trade Today? What are you looking at for tomorrow?
Oh, Tomorrow's Trade Today. That's going to start with GOOGL. That is after the close, though, guys. But I want to take a look at this name. I've talked about Amazon and Google being laggards compared to some of these other Magnificent 7 names. Now, we know that Microsoft has established a new all-time high since its previous earnings report. NVDA has been on an absolute monster run, going through the Gulfs, solidifying some new contracts there, and then now the H20 is back on the table. But I really want to see what Google is up to tomorrow, because it is starting to play catch up. We were just going over the daily. It broke that 181 resistance level, and now we're approximately less than 7% from those all-time highs. There's going to be a couple key metrics that I'm going to be looking out for on tomorrow's report. That is going to be Google Cloud and how much market share ChatGPT has stole from them.
That's a good point.
Right?
Yeah.
So those are going to be two major factors coming into Google's earnings report. Now, we see that we have a 5.3 expected move with a 66.6% IV. That's an at-the-money IV, so that can put us at a high of around $201 and a low of around 181. Now, let's see where our previous all-time high is on Google, 207. Now, I'm going to think, and this is speculative, if Google beats on clouds and the loss on search engine is less than expected than what the street is expecting, I would not be surprised if Google makes that push towards its all-time high. So I got my eyes fixated on Google for tomorrow, Adara.
Yeah, that's a good look. And I was just actually putting to Harry Lou in the chat the expected move for Google and Tesla, 5.7% for Google, 7.2% for Tesla. Dinkelberg mentioning an interesting ticker that we don't really talk about at all. So NAIL, NAIL. You said you did well in that one, Dinkelberg. And I mean, you nailed it if you were long. This is a great push here. Now, this daily chart is a little bit unfortunate, but this home builder supply, let me guess, I bet this is, maybe it has something to do with DHI, which had earnings today. A good look there. Yeah, DHI, cap up, push to the upside. Great look there for both this one and NAIL. Now, I am actually not going to be in tomorrow, as I mentioned, but if my tomorrow's trade today, probably LMT continuation or NFLX. Really quickly, Dr. Muhammad asking, why did I choose to short LMT at the lowest price in the year? Honestly, I didn't even see it was that low. What I saw was I liked the price action, and so I went for the move. And I think sometimes you can't bog yourself down in technicals. You have to go after it. But Joe, we're done. Yes. So do you want to do this roll call?
Ooh, it's roll call. Let's see who we got going on. We got to hit the button here first. All right, guys, it's time for roll call. Let's see who we got here in the chat. It's 420 Bud Monster, Sebastian, Just Play, J Doe. What's going on, my friend? I hope all is well. Front Porch Trader, Marlena, my guy John Von Sawyers always has the kindest words in the chat at all times. I know who I'm not going to be calling out, and there it is. Jacques Desmore, T-Money, Gorev, my guy, Stevenson, Etienne. I've been missing you during the midday. Where have you been, my friend? We need you back in that. Profits, what's going on? We got Pelosi's Stonk Trader, and one more time, my guy, Stevenson, Etienne.
Yeah. Get it. We'll see you guys. I won't see you guys tomorrow. I'll see you guys on Monday. You'll see Sean again tomorrow. And yeah. Oh, yeah. Shout out to everybody here in this chat. And we have a great night. Thank you for being here with us, Joe.
No, thank you for having me.
Yeah, and we'll see you guys. Have a great night and happy earnings to all. See you.
Have a good one, guys.
Take care.
Ciao.
I pity the fool that doesn't hit the like and subscribe button.